Hi, everybody. It's Denise with Divine Soul Astrology, and today I'm here to speak about the Capricorn full moon. And that is this Sunday here in California. So check for your own time, but it will be at 11:57 p.m. Universal Time. All right. So, give or take some hours for whatever country you're in, right? And for here in California, it will be at 4:56 p.m. and, the West Coast or Pacific Daylight Time. All right. So let's get into this. And why is this important, the Capricorn full moon? Because Capricorn is ruling the 10th house, and the 10th house is an angular house. That means that it's a very important house and, really has a lot to do with our life or, the important parts of our life, the components. And Cancer rules the fourth house, and that is another angular house. These are the most important houses, the angular houses, the fourth, the seventh, and the 10th. And the first, right? The first is your rising sign or your ascendant. So let's talk about what this means, right? And the full moon in Capricorn highlights the Cancer Capricorn axis, right? Which represents the balance between home and career, emotional needs versus responsibilities, family obligations versus public life, security, right? Emotional security, basically, or family security, we can say, versus achievement, nurturing versus authority. And what kind of authority I'm talking about is the authority we wield over our own life. Capricorn rules the 10th house of authority and ambition, achievement. This is discipline and maturity and also commitment, right? Capricorn is about being serious. It's about the long term, the goals that we have for the long term. So this is why it is associated with, authority over our own life and our career. It also represents our status, right? Our social status, a social role, how we show ourselves to the world. Are we retired or are we getting a promotion? Those are social statuses, really. Are we married or divorced? Things like that. There's plenty of others to kind of, reference, right? Um, yeah, and that is Capricorn. It also rules restriction if we are not willing to make a commitment to really control or step into the authority over our own life or wield the personal agency that we need in our life, which has nothing to do with anybody else. It's all about ourselves. And Capricorn rules bosses, right? Authority figures, and sometimes the father it can, right? We could be talking about, authority figures here or your father, possibly, right? But that is what Capricorn is about. All right. And the full moon can reveal and consequences. Remember, I was saying restrictions for if we don't do that, right? The full moon can reveal what's no longer working in our lives. There can be a turning point or a conclusion or a result of the Capricorn full moon, right? But this can be actually a conclusion of what happened since the new moon. This is the culminating of the new moon in Capricorn in December of 2025, right? The full moon can make us question ourselves. Am I building something meaningful? Is this constructive? Can it can it work for the long term? And that can be about your career, your relationship, your marriage, or a commitment, anything really. And the Capricorn full moon can ask us if we're taking on too much responsibility as well or avoiding it. Yeah, right. And so Capricorn rules those long-term goals, status, leadership, and achievement. As I was explaining, there can be career developments, retirement decisions, promotions, or recognitions, possibly and decisions regarding business or financial planning. All these are Capricorn 10th house terms, themes, right? And it can be changes regarding authority figures, right? Including your own authority, as I mentioned, over your own life, right? And it can be the authority figure that you have to deal with sometimes at work, right? Or in your career. The sun is in Cancer as part of the full moon, as part of this axis. Family issues and emotional needs can be very important right now. That's what the Capricorn full moon's asking us to balance those. The full moon can illuminate family responsibilities, elder care, property matters because it rules the home, the physical home, and the physical home, emotional themes of security, and boundaries with relatives or even people you consider tribal or part of your tribe, right? The full moon can bring positive manifestations and breakthroughs, but also ones as well. It's just going to depend. Mercury goes retrograde in Cancer, um, and that is very soon, bringing up themes of contracts, past decisions, family issues, commitments, and emotional patterns. And Chiron has just entered Taurus, beginning a 7-year cycle of healing issues of self-worth, values, security, money, and material well-being. And so I have a video on that. If you'd like to watch that video, I will definitely pin it down below because that's very important, Chiron. It is. And if you have planets between 4 and 12 degrees in Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, or Libra, those are the people who are most likely to feel this, right? The full moon axis will encourage emotional maturity. It's always a good thing. More responsibility or things that we're supposed to be responsible about, better decisions, building structures and foundations that can support our outer success, our public success, or our professional success, and also your inner success, right? And your emotional foundation. That's most important, right? Can't build anything without that. The full moon can support patience, integrity, and long-term achievement. Yeah, very cool, right? Now, let's talk about Aries, sun, moon, and rising, or sun, moon, and ascendant, however you like, to kind of hear it. Aries, the full moon is in your 10th house. Let's move it here, because this is where we have to kind of change signs. I'll put it right on Aries. Yeah, the software doesn't allow me to move this here with the title of the full moon in Capricorn, but that's okay here because I love this software, I really do. And we have it right here. We have you here, Aries, on the ascendant. The full moon is in your 10th house of career, status, and long-term goals and achievement. So really the intro is for you, because the fourth house is the natural house of Cancer, and you're the only sign that has the natural chart. I say this every time, because it's kind of makes your horoscope easy to do. It does, Aries, right? Because I'm not combining the house with the sign because it's in its own sign, right? Whatever we're talking about the sun right now in Cancer. It's right there in its own house as well. All right, same thing with the moon. All right. So, yeah, and the sun is opposing the moon from your fourth house of self, emotional needs, physical living space, or anywhere you call home, or what you feel like is home to you, right? Yeah, the intro is all for you. I mentioned, yeah, please watch that, Aries. If you are watching a horoscope right now, please go back and see the intro. And everybody should be watching the intro because I don't want to, right, keep explaining every time we go to the new sign, right? That'd be kind of ludicrous, right? Yeah. And if you watch that, you'll be able to understand your horoscope better. You sure will. And Saturn is the ruler of the full moon. Yes, it is. And where do we have Saturn here? Is in your sign. Yeah, you see that? Either helping you to achieve or to create long-term goals, Aries, and act with integrity or personal agency, right? Or it's there for potential challenges because that's what Saturn does. It's the stern teacher. It sure is, but it is the most rewarding, right? And okay, so we have that's the way Saturn works. The sun is making a square to Saturn. And where is the good old sun? It's right here. And it's making that square to Saturn in your sign, in your house of self, in your sign, here. And the sun is, about our self-expression. It's also life. It also represents clarity. It's illuminating something here, with the opposition to the moon and the square here to Saturn right here. Yeah, and so Saturn, that sun making that square could be asking you to slow down, have patience, to support your future aspirations, or whatever, what else, or whatever you want to do, really, right? Whatever you are trying to create for the long term, what you may be hoping for also in order to achieve, because Saturn rules your 11th house of the future aspirations, and also social groups and friends. This is the house of rules two houses here, or two signs, Capricorn and Aquarius. This is also the house of hopes and wishes, and that is always about the future, right? So that is Saturn is supporting that for you there. It really is. Um, yeah. All right. Let's see what else I have here. Saturn has been trinal to Venus, and we'll look at that, right? Where's Saturn? It's right here. And let's close this and reopen just Saturn. And it is making this trine. And Venus is moving away from the trine. That's okay. Saturn's there for a long time. It does represent the long term, right? And here we have that trine to Venus. Um, and so Venus is in your fifth house of self-expression. Yes, that's what the sun is, that's what the sun represents. It is the ruler of the natural fifth house, but Venus is here in Leo. Yes, in very self-expressive Leo. So this is what I mean about the natural chart as well. But Venus is here supporting your self-expression, your talents. It's supporting your relationships, right? The romantic ones, it sure is. The ones with your parents, the ones with children as well. Um, yeah, and that's been there since about June 18th. Venus is trining Saturn. Yeah, I just said that, from your house of fun. This is also your house of fun and whatever you want to create for yourself, your house of authenticity and how you shine. So Venus likes to be in Leo as well. Um, yeah, and that trine is also supporting everything you're good at, Aries, all right? Your hobbies as well. Also your self-worth. Venus represents self-worth because it represents Taurus, the second house of well-being and self-worth. Venus is supporting your money as well there, all right? But could definitely be asking you to acknowledge your talents or what you're good at, right? And, especially as it relates to the long term. Venus is asking you to live from the heart. That's what it's doing, Aries. There can be something here about aligning yourself with like-minded people because Saturn is ruling your 11th house as well, who may be able to help you, these people. The sun in Cancer is about support. It is about getting support either from family, family or people you consider tribal to you, people who are very close, right, who support you, who nurture you. But also, just this can also be, this is how you nurture yourself as well, right? Um, but this 11th house is about social connections as well and friends. Natal Mars is trining Pluto. Where's natal Mars at? Right here, let's close that out. And now we have Mars making the trine to Pluto. Pluto is transformation. It's also power. The power, right? Right now it's in Aquarius. That really means power for the people, which is a beautiful thing, right? Because when Pluto was in Capricorn, it meant power for the authority figures, right? So, yeah, good old Pluto came in the nick of time, right? To support the people, right? And so, we have that Mars trining Pluto, which will be there a very long time. So there's no such thing as a nick of time, not really. Pluto's going to be there until 2043, I believe, right? But it has come to support. It supports every house as it moves, right? Or every sign. So yeah, but we have Pluto there. We have that trine, natal Mars, right, supporting transformation. And Mars is in very intelligent Gemini. So Mars in Gemini is really creating like new goals, or it can be just doing things that are new things that are, you're thinking about new things, right? That's what Gemini rules, thinking. And this is your third house of thoughts. This is your third house, as again, the natural chart in Gemini, communication, plans and goals, skills, and things like that. So it is trining Pluto. It is supporting you, Aries, big time. That's your natal ruler, supporting you as you move into the future with possible new skills, new goals, and things like that. All right. But that Venus in your fifth house is definitely telling you something. It is. And this is helping you too with Mars in your third house. It's helping you to make better decisions and better choices, helping you to think and analyze where you're going, Aries, with regard to your long-term goals, responsibilities. Um, Yes, and yeah, Pluto is being ruled by Saturn, as I mentioned. All right. This can also talk about you can have many opportunities here with like-minded people or social connections, things like that. And maybe friends, right? They can kind of help you as well. That's a possibility here, but it does look really good for you. Um, yeah, and Mars is ruling. Your natal ruler also rules your eighth house of transformation. So there's changes coming. There definitely is. And now I'm going to move on to Taurus. So if you've enjoyed this here, and before we skip off, because I didn't note this here, Mars is making a square to the nodes, right? The nodes of, this is the north node of, where is it in Pisces? Right here, the north node of higher potential, fate and destiny, really higher purpose, things like that. And then also squaring the south node of what we need to move away from, what we need to, that may limit us. It is associated with the past and lack, sometimes wounds from the past, sometimes, things, lineage from lineage and childhood, it can be, or also, past lives, right? Which is, if you ever want a past life reading with me, they're healing. Yeah, they definitely are. You can get one of those. They're very empowering, right? Because, when we experience healing, we experience empowerment immediately. Yeah. So it's a very cool thing, right? And so yeah, and this north node of true potential for you, Aries, the square is asking you to make an adjustment about everything really kind of we talked about, sort of, right? Where the moon is in your house, and where the sun is as well. But this north node is in Pisces, and so Pisces is the house of, is ruling your 12th house of release. It's really Jupiter, but this is release and ending, asking you to release something so you can move into your higher potential. All right. Yeah, very cool. And that is being ruled by Jupiter, which is in Cancer, right, with the sun. Um, yeah, so Jupiter is supporting the North Node here, which is blessings. Jupiter is growth and expansion, and it's definitely beautiful things. It can kind of exaggerate things, but we're not talking about exaggeration here. No, we're not. So I'm going to move on to Taurus. Thank you so much, Aries, for joining me here today. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about all the kind of aspects here because we'll be here a million years. Yeah, we will. Yeah, or all night, right? So yeah, we're going to move on to Taurus. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's helping me to get to the 1,000 subs. If you enjoyed my content, make a comment. Yeah, that'd be great if you could do that. All right, so now let's talk about Taurus. So we're going to put Taurus on the ascendant, and here you are. So this is going to be for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And yeah, Taurus, the full moon is in your ninth house of growth and expansion. This is the house of things that you're enthused about as well, or what makes you feel like you're growing, a house of wisdom, of purpose, and what's meaningful to you. It's also about, long-term travel and long-distance travel, rather, and faraway lands and travel and culture and things like that. This is also your house of philosophy, yeah, which is very important, and your beliefs, right? And so here we have the moon there. And the full moon axis is on the third and the ninth house axis, which really has much to do with thinking. It can be planning, but think your intelligence, uh, and the intelligence that you use in your everyday life, and then the intelligence that kind of drives your philosophy or your higher purpose, right? um, and kind of what you want for yourself in this world, what's meaningful, what matters to you, right? This is really the logical mind and the higher mind. That is the axis that's there. The third house being more about how we think about things that are local to us, familiar things we do all the time, right? I take this way home every day, or I go and have a meal every Friday night, over at, this particular restaurant. And the ninth house is about the way we think about, yeah, our higher purpose and worldly beliefs. The full moon in the ninth house is showing you what really matters to you, Taurus, potentially for the long term, and also what inspires you. It can also, and what supports, and how that supports your 10th house, because both the ninth and the 10th house Taurus are ruled by Saturn, right? Capricorn, Saturn rules Capricorn, the ruler of the full moon, and it rules Aquarius. So this is your house of growth and expansion. Up here is the house of career, but this is also the house, the 10th house for you, is also, it is, it talks about Capricorn. It's just that, but now we have it in Aquarius, right? So, but what is this saying really here? The full moon, here, yeah, the full moon is making a square to Saturn in Aries, right? Let's look at that here. Um, and let's just highlight the full moon here. Oh, here it is. And making that square to Aries. Aries is in your 12th house of release and endings. There's something you're supposed to let go of here in order to help you achieve, or in order to help you step into your full potential. Yeah, your kind of authority, the kind of disciplined authority over your own life, right? This is also the house of spiritual growth, right? The moon is very connected to our spiritual growth. For sure it is, because it rules Cancer. Um, and, Cancer is about our intuition as well. But that moon there is squaring Saturn in Aries. Saturn is actually kind of diminished there. It's in fall there because Saturn has to listen to kind of Mars there, right? So it's asking you to have patience as well. That's very interesting. And that house is also the house of self-undoing, doubts and fears, encouraging you to make an adjustment and release something that lacks meaning or inspiration. Yeah, that's what that's doing because it's coming from your ninth house. All right. And to let go of things, this could be, I mean, it can be addiction. It's possible. I don't know about your own life. I can't see your own chart, but whatever has been kind of limiting you or keeping you kind of with doubts and fears, maybe, right? That's the house of spiritual growth where Saturn sits too, and intuition and imagination. So, let go of any fears that are kind of maybe kind of holding you back from achievement. Yeah, it could be doing that. Yeah, and Mars is where's the moon is making a square to Athena, Pallas Athena. I always want to call it Athena first. And here's the moon making that square also to Pallas Athena. Pallas Athena wants us to notice the emotional patterns that we have been continuing to do, right? Or, what is kind of all about our emotional mind, right? And our needs as well. So, because that brings wisdom, and this is in the house of the unconscious mind. Right? Yeah, so that's very important here. It kind of, and this is a hidden house. So, whatever is going on here, it's maybe the moon is asking you to see it, right? Because it's in that emotional, the house of the unconscious mind and what is hidden. Yeah, and so we also have it the Vesta. It's making a square here. It's asking you to see something, so you can bring more harmony and balance into your own life. Vesta is associated with Libra, which, rules harmony and balance, right? This can also be what kind of quietly, can be kind of pressing you to quietly devote yourself to something here, right? This is a very quiet house as well. Yeah, very interesting there. All right. So, yeah, let's see where we are with these notes because, yeah, I'm always kind of forgetting to kind of, get kind of talking here, but the notes are a little bit important here. Yeah, they are. This is compelling you to act as well. It sure does because it's in Aries, right? And Aries is about acting. It's the sign of the self, but it is about how we act in our lives, how we motivation and things like that. All right. Yeah, let's see what else I have here. The sun is in your house of thinking. I'm not sure, I don't think I mentioned that, but the sun is here in your house of thinking, ideas, plans, and goals and choices, asking you to act authentically, Taurus. And don't worry about like because Saturn doesn't really like risks, but we need to take certain risks, right? Saturn is in your house, or Saturn is ruling the moon in your house of growth and expansion. We can't grow unless we accept certain risks in our lives, right? Doesn't mean make some crazy risks. It doesn't mean that. But in order to reach our true potential, and that ninth house is associated with your higher self, yes, and your purpose, all right? And the sun is opposing that house. Now, the sun is about your authentic self and your talents and how you shine. It's about the life that the sun brings to us, right? It can be about our outer personality. And so the sun is there. Let's see what I wrote about the sun here. Yeah, is in your house of thinking. Yeah, wanting you to act authentically, which has a lot to do with the ninth house, as I said. And Mars is the ruler of the 12th house, where the moon is squaring Saturn, right? Mars rules here. Mars also rules your seventh house of relationships, but partnerships, business and clients, one-on-ones, but it also rules how you create harmony and balance in your life, right? We just talked about Vesta over here. Harmony and balance is super important. We can't do anything without it. We can't be stressed out all the time. We can't be around people who are stressing us. No, those people have to kind of move aside, right? So Mars is ruling that house. So that means basically that harmony and balance is very important for you, Taurus, right here. And Venus is the ruler of the natural seventh house, where Mars is ruling for you, and Venus is your ruler. So, harmony and balance is very important to you as well. It sure is, right? You guys need stability. The second house rules you are the ruler of the second house, and so is Venus, really. But, um, right, Taurus is the second house. And so in the zodiac, and so that is ruling well-being and self-worth and stability. All right. So that's very important to you. Yeah, and so let's see. And that also Mars is ruling your house of values. Yes, and where is Mars? Good old Mars here is ruling the seventh house. And yeah, it rules this house as well. Not your house. Mars is in, that's what I'm trying to put here. Yeah, Mars is in your second house of values. Gemini, Mercury is ruling that second house for you, but Mars is in your second house of values and well-being and stability and self-worth. So there's a theme here, right? Now, yeah, and so, um, yeah, and Mars is there with Uranus in your second house of well-being, kind of shaking it up for you. But Mars is making a square to the nodes here, the nodes of fate, and your 11th house of the future is being ruled by Jupiter. And here's the node of higher potential and true potential for you, right? Higher meaning. And here is that node being ruled by in your 11th house of future aspirations. It's asking you, the squares are an adjustment that needs to be made. It's a little bit of a challenge, right? But that's what that adjustment really means, or the challenge really means, to make that adjustment. And Mars is making the square to your north node. Next to kind of Uranus, it's kind of saying that, change, there's something you want to do most likely with Mars there in your second house ruled by Mercury, all right? And maybe that has to do with plans and goals. Gemini's about plans and goals, the way you think and the choices and decisions you make, your communication with others, and but that is the mental the mental sign, the intelligence sign. But Uranus is here, kind of pushing you here with Mars squaring your 11th house of future aspirations. And that's where the node is of higher potential. So there's some type of change or adjustment that you need to make here, right? And that will honestly bring you more well-being. Yeah, and that can be change, and change is not easy for Taurus. I have a Taurus moon. We're like, everything's okay. Why do I need to change anything? But we can't grow without it. No, we can't grow. And Jupiter ruling growth and expansion, where the moon sits, is ruling your ninth house, your 11th house here. where the north node of higher potential is. Okay. Now we're going to look one more thing here. Um, yeah, and so, and then, we have the square to the south node asking you to leave something behind that or that's limiting you about your self-expression, your talents, so yeah, this is kind of like believe in yourself. That's, the north node is in the sign of Pisces. Pisces wants us to believe in ourselves, yeah, in our dreams and our visions, all right? And one last here, because you may be here too long here, but we also have, uh, where was I here? There's a little spider in here that's getting on my nerves. Yeah, and he's just crawling around here. We have Venus, your natal ruler. We didn't talk about Venus. It's in your fourth house of emotional needs. The full moon is highlighting our emotional needs as it opposes Cancer, right? So Venus is in your house of emotional needs, supporting you there, making a square. Look at that. Wow, Venus is squaring Mars, right? Remember, Mars rules your 12th house of endings over here, and that's where Saturn sits. So Venus is actually kind of asking you to kind of Taurus to making the square to it's at 19 degrees, not to Mars. I beg your pardon. It's making a square to uh, a trine to Saturn, supporting your fourth house here. This is 65-year-old eyes, you guys. Making the trine to your 12th house, making it easy for you to leave behind things so you can achieve and asking you to believe in yourself once more. The 12th house is the house also of Pisces in the natural chart, where it really means, believe in yourself, leave the doubts and the fears behind. All right. So that's what Venus is doing. Venus is also ruling your sixth house of daily work or gainful employment, and your health and your wellness. This is also about your well-being, but your daily routine. So maybe something is, needing to change there to help you achieve possibly, or to help you balance your emotional needs, right? Could be, all right? So thank you so much, Taurus, for joining me here today. If you've enjoyed my content, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell and you'll be notified of my next upload, all right? So thank you so much. If you want a reading with me, yeah, I approach the chart in a very awesome way, very, very awesome. Not just about your gifts and your personality, but about many, many other things that help you realize uh, really how awesome you are. Yeah, very cool. So let's move on now, and we're going to put the ascendant here on Gemini. And hi, Gemini, and this is going to be for Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. All right. So here we have Gemini. Um, let's move to this here. Something major is transforming or changing as the full moon is in your eighth house of transformation and regeneration. And so that is also the house of intimate, close relationships, could be business or romantic, any type. It's about shared money or shared wealth, which can be anything from, your husband's check, or, it can be mutual bonds or inheritances, even taxes. Wow. But anything, commissions, bonuses, anything about shared wealth, right? Can be the lottery, the house of the lottery as well. Now, that's also about where you can understand deep psychological themes about yourself, and what has been hidden. It's a hidden house, can be about secrets, maybe that people keep and things like that, right? But it's typically about kind of what we are able to see that has been beneath the veil. It's a very psychological house. It's the house of crises, um, yeah, and the taboo as well. All right, so it's there, and so we have, excuse me, you guys, that is also the house of the occult. So when I say that, I can mean anything that's been hidden, but that's what the occult means, right? But it also means astrology and, divination, runes, and, things like that, past life readings and past life practitioner and all that kind of stuff, right? Which, by the way, I am a past life practitioner, and those are very empowering. So if you ever want to see who you were in a past life, get one of those, and no, they're not scary. Not at all. All right, those are very healing and empowering. Yeah, they are. So here um we have the sun, and let's look at this here. Yeah, and Saturn is the ruler of the full moon. I'm going to go by my notes here, Gemini. Saturn is the ruler of the full moon, and in Saturn is ruling your ninth house, your eighth and your ninth house of growth and expansion, higher purpose, wisdom, long distance travel, faraway lands, your philosophy, your beliefs. And it's also about teaching and education, higher education. But it is about learning because, it's about our philosophy as well. The third house is also has to do with learning, but um, education here. But also, this is fueling a profound change for you, Gemini. Saturn is in your 11th, right here. And this is the house of future aspirations. So we can see there's a big change here with the moon in your house of transformation, right? And Saturn sits in your house of hopes and wishes and gains, right? Gains usually from the 10th house of status or your career, right? But yeah, and this is also your 11th house of friends or social groups or people that you kind of connect with or people that you kind of align with in terms of like-mindedness, all right? Um, yeah, and so you may be moving away though. The sun, with Saturn in your 11th house, you may be moving away from people that you no longer align with, Gemini. That could be the case. Yeah, it is in the sign of the self. That's interesting, where Saturn sits. Um, and you may be also, Gemini, you could be really kind of connecting to your goals as they relate to the future, right? Saturn is related to, his career goals or achievement. You may be doing that, right? And we have Mars. Okay, so let's go by these notes instead here because yeah, because the wheel's hard to see anyway, because because it gets really like dim when you kind of, yeah, when I am highlighting certain areas, right, can be. All right, so let's see what else I have here in the notes. Yeah, and so you could be finding new friends or new people that you really align with. That could be the case here for you, right? And Mars is ruling that Mars is the will to act, right? The planet is actually in your sign at 0 degrees, right? So Mars is a connection for you right now with Mars. Mars is ruling that 11th house of the future where Saturn sits. So let's have a look at Mars here. Um, yeah, it's ruling that 11th house, and it is also ruling your sixth house of work and health and wellness. This is the house of service as well. Maybe you feel like too that you're kind of just being too much, doing too much possibly for somebody or a group of people or bending over backwards for a friend, maybe. That could be the case. And, too much service here. Right? That can be because that is the sixth house where Mars is ruling, and Mars is making a quincunx, and sorry, an opposition. That's not an opposition. That is actually a quincunx, or it's sorry, it is a light opposition. I beg your pardon, because it's moving out of the opposition. The opposition is asking for an adjustment about something that has to do with those sixth house themes. That's also the house of your habits, your daily routines, your obligations, and the house of obstacles. But Mars wants you to do something here, Gemini, because it's in your first house, in your sign. And it is ruling that sixth house and the 11th house. It has to do with something that is regarding the future. Yeah, it sure does, right? Yeah, and this can be related to your work as well. It sure can, because your work can be fueling your Capricorn rules career, Saturn, but your work can be fueling your house, your future as well, right? Yeah, and so now we have Venus. Let's look at the sun though. And you could be moving away from old ideas or old people that do not support your well-being. That's a possibility. The sun is in your house of well-being. It's in the house of values. There's something you might not be valuing here anymore, all right? Um, this is also your house of money, and the sun makes the square. See, I'm always much better when I look at these notes. The sun is making a square to Saturn. You see that? I didn't talk about that. And right, and so I was talking about what house this is for you, friends or, or social connections or the future, right? And Venus, let's talk about Venus. Venus rules values and self-worth where the sun sits. And Venus is making a trine to Saturn. Look how beautiful that is. And let's go ahead and, recalibrate this or, but here we have Venus trining Saturn. It's a beautiful thing. And Athena or Pallas Athena, I always want to call it Athena, maybe because I'm a woman, right? Who knows? But yeah, to Pallas Athena in your 11th house of the future and, social groups or friends. And it is making that trine there to Saturn as well. And also Vesta. Vesta rules, harmony and balance in our life. It does. Let me grab this kind of pen here. And so, Saturn is not Saturn, but Vesta is about harmony and balance, and so is Venus. So there's some type of support here for you for your future. It may have to do with friends or, or whatever supports your well-being, your future, your money, your relationships, and really what you desire. Because Venus is, Aries does rules desires as well because it rules the will to act on those desires, right? And that's where Saturn and, these other signs, not signs, but these asteroids I was speaking of, right? But Venus is here in Leo. Leo is about our desires because it's about what we want to create for ourselves. Yeah, very cool, right? And so, yeah, Venus is in heartfelt Leo, perhaps making it easier for you to move away from people who don't support your well-being. That's what I was kind of trying to say there, right? Venus is squaring part of fortune, right? Part of fortune is what you thrive, helps you thrive in this world. It's in your 12th house of endings and release. And in the sign of Taurus, which is well-being and values. Yeah, it's also money and stability and, our self-worth. But we can see the theme here, right? I feel like we can. And natal Mercury, yes, I didn't talk about that, and Jupiter are squaring Chiron in your 12th house in Taurus. See? And where is Mercury at? Let's find Mercury. Um, right here, Mercury's in your second house of well-being, you see? Once again, your values, your stability, and your money. And Mercury is there helping you. It's in nurturing Cancer. It's pretty much saying, nurture your ideas, nurture yourself, nurture the belief in yourself as well. It's there with Jupiter, and Jupiter is fueling or helping. Mercury is telling you kind of there in your second house of well-being, what supports your growth and your growth and your expansion, right? So yeah, and so we have that square. Is it a square? No, it is it's a square. Sorry, you guys, I was talking about that. The square to Chiron in your 12th house, asking you to release an old wound that is kind of an old wound or an old vulnerability, Gemini, that has to do with or that's affecting your well-being or affecting how you earn money or your money in general, your stability, as you know, could have to do with your values. It can be asking you to let go of an old value that is maybe hindering your achievement because the Capricorn full moon is about achievement. Yeah, it really is. And career and the authority we wield over our own life. Okay. Mercury is ruling your first house of self and also Virgo. And Virgo is your fourth house of emotional needs. And this full moon is about your emotional needs because it is opposing uh, Cancer, and Cancer rules our emotional needs. So we can see how everything is kind of fitting together, right? Yeah, and Jupiter is here supporting you as well in your second house. It loves to be in Cancer. It's going to be moving out very shortly here, but actually on the 30th of the month, yeah, the next day. But here we have Jupiter still. It's at 29 degrees, a very powerful degree. Sometimes some people will say it's critical, kind of maybe, showing a last chance here in supportive and nurturing Cancer. And that is also part of this sextile, right? So Jupiter is ruling as well. This is an opportunity for you to release something, Gemini, that is kind of been hindering yourself, your to Chiron, hindering your well-being. Yeah, that's let it go, whatever it is. It can be something very old because it's in the 12th house, right? Could be something that, and Capricorn rules time. Yeah, it does. And Cancer, which is about our needs, which is, where the sun is right now, part of the full moon, right? The sun is always opposed by the full moon, but that it's in, our emotional needs. So let something go here. It's kind of asking you to do that, kind of compelling you to act in that way. Okay. And Jupiter is here, as I said, part of that square with your natal Mercury. Jupiter is ruling your 10th house of career. You see, there we go. And the authority you rule over your own life. It's also ruling your long-term goals. For sure it does. And it's also ruling your 7th house. And that is about relationships. And that is also where you create harmony and balance in your own life. All right. So, yes, thank you so much for joining me here. Um, excuse me, Gemini. Yeah. And I'm going to move on. If you've enjoyed my content, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell, and I'll be back with another video. If you like a reading with me, check out the description box. I have some awesome readings, and yeah, and they're all coming from a place of supporting your empowerment. Yeah, it's not just him and tell you about, how great some things are. No, it's they're really awesome, I believe. So let's go to Cancer. Thank you so much, Gemini, for being with me here today. Cancer, and here you are. And the full moon is really important to you because because the moon, your natal moon, which is in your 7th house of relationships, is opposing you, the sun in your sign. All right. So this is very important to you. It is. Um, and so the full moon, yeah, this is about the 7th house, also Cancer, where the full moon sits, is in your house of I think I just said that, how you create harmony and balance in your life. But that moon is, sorry, you guys, I'm kind of, these are getting a little bit long, but the moon here is illuminating something for you about your relationships, how you show up in them, harmony and balance. It's really important for you. That supports your emotional needs because Cancer, you rule emotional needs and emotional foundation, and the sun is there. So that opposition with the full moon is asking you to make an adjustment, okay? It is for your own emotional needs or to support that, right? Yeah, and this 7th house is also about business and clients, one-on-one relationships, any type. It's also about legal matters and opponents, right? Or people or situations that don't agree with you. And that may diminish like fairness and harmony to you. That could be that, right? The sun is in your 1st house, as I said, the house of self. And Saturn is the ruler of the full moon. And here is good old Saturn. It's in Aries. It's in your 10th house of career, which is if you watch the intro, I hope you did. But because it really kind of fuels, when we get into the horoscopes, right? It's not very meaningful to just watch the horoscopes. No, some people, people like me, right? Gemini, I'll just go right to but it's not advisable here, okay? Yeah, people like me, impulsive people like me, right? So, which, trying to hone that in here, of course, right? But Saturn is the ruler of the full moon, and Saturn is ruling your 8th house of transformation, where Pluto sits. OMG. So there's big change here for you. It's also ruling your house of intimate relationships, business or romantic, whatever they are, any close relationships you have, even with just anybody, really. And that is the house of other people's money and shared wealth. So there can be a thing here where you're changing your attitude. The full moon can illuminate something where you change your attitude about money or money that you share or build with other people. This can depend, right? Now, we have Saturn in your 10th house of career, as I mentioned briefly here, possibly, in your 10th house of career. That's right. And And this is, in case you haven't watched the intro, this is your house of status, social roles, a husband, or, social or status. We're talking about if you're married or you're divorced or you got a promotion, you're being recognized. That is status as well. Right? Responsibilities, authority figures. And the personal authority and ambition that you wield over your own life. That is mostly important, right? And the sun is in your first house of self, making a square here to Saturn. Now, the squares are, asking you to, the Saturn and the sun really in your first house, but is asking you to make an adjustment about yourself that has to do with the authority you wield over your own life because there could be, maybe you have been restricting yourself. Saturn also represents restrictions. It does. If we don't step into our own authority, really, or if we're not mature, or if we're not self-disciplined. So this is asking you to really take authority over your own life. It's in the sign of the self, right? In Aries, asking you to take that authority over your own life. And, with that moon in your seventh house of relationships, it's kind of like you're seeing something here about maybe in the past, you were around people who kind of didn't support you, your harmony and balance in your own life, or you were choosing partners who did not support that. So the sun here is supporting you doing that, and it's kind of compelling you to act on that, right? And really to believe in yourself. It's in the sign of the self, Aries. And so Mars is ruling this here. This is helping you see yourself, kind of a little bit of a challenge, but helping you see yourself with more authority in your own life. Like, what? This is my life. I'm controlling it, right? Um, yeah, and compelling you to make that kind of adjustment about your personal achievement or how you show yourself to the world, how people may see you, kind of your reputation, right? And Mars is the ruler of the 10th house here. So let's talk about Mars briefly. Um, and Mars is ruling this house of, authority, and ambition. And also Mars rules your fifth house of self-expression. So this is it's like a big message, right? And that fifth house of self-expression is also has to do with your self-identity, how you show yourself to other people, because this is your self-expression, right? That is the natural house of the sun and how you shine. It's also about your talents, but it is about you being authentic to who you really are. That is the fifth house. So Mars is ruling that house. There's something here. You're moving into your own authenticity and you kind of don't care what other people think over here, possibly, or partners. Could be old partners. The moon does represent the past as well. It's in that house of partners. Yeah, and what you're doing is kind of creating your own well-being here by doing this. Yeah, you are. Mm-hmm. And so let's see what else I have here for you, Cancer. Yeah, and so let's look at here, and I talked about yeah, and so Mars, the ruler of that 10th house, is also making a sextile. Let's look at Mars now, and let's go ahead and, um, yeah, Jupiter here is in your first house here. Um, Yeah, and Jupiter is right here in your house of self. It's moving out into Gemini the next day after the full moon, but Mercury here they're getting together here. Mercury is kind of your mind, your brains, the way you think, and it is supporting Jupiter about your higher purpose, about growth and expansion. It is supporting your growth there in your first house, in your house of self, and Jupiter and both Jupiter and um, Mars is Mercury and Jupiter here are making a sextile to Mars. We could say Mars is making the sextile to Jupiter. It's the faster moving planet doing that, kind of initiating that. But, long story short, there's a sextile here, an opportunity if you're seeing it, right? That's what the full moon is trying to illuminate here. Yeah, it is. And so, and this is a sextile to Mars is in your 12th house of endings, being ruled by Mercury. And here is Mercury right here as part of that sextile. So this is an opportunity for you to release something about the past, about it could be about like doubts and fears you had about yourself. Maybe you thought in a different way, the idea of yourself, maybe, or the idea of maybe relationships or how you wield authority over your own life. There is a definite uh, opportunity for you to leave those behind. This is happening in your house of release and endings, also your house of the unconscious mind. It's a hidden house. Maybe you could not see that before, and this moon is illuminating that for you now. All right. I find that to be a beautiful thing, right? The sun can bring clarity. It's in your house, right? It's in your first house of self, in your sign. This is why we sometimes feel better when we have the sun in our sign, because the sun is bringing life, right? All right. So we also have this sextile with Neptune. Where is Neptune? Right here. Mars is making a sextile to Neptune. Remember, Mars is the will to act. It's the courage. It's in your 12th house of endings. It's making a sextile to Neptune. And Neptune is our dreams and our visions. Now, the thing about Neptune is that it can be either your dreams and your visions, or it can be your illusions and your fears, your doubts, right? We always want to be on the higher side, right? Because dreams are connected to illusions in a way, right? We don't want to be too kind of naive, or and we don't want to be uncertain about things, because that Neptune can talk about uncertainty and confusion, but it does also talk about spiritual growth, yes, and hope, right? And so we have that Mars is making the sextile here to Neptune, and that is helping you. And Neptune is in your 10th house of career. Let's go back to that thing right here, that sextile rather. This is helping you assert yourself. Mars is telling you, baby, not baby, telling you to assert yourself here, about your hopes and dreams. That's right. Trust your intuition and trust in yourself. Neptune is in the sign of the self. Take the authority that you need to, that we all need over our own life. All right. We also have Mars here. Where is Mars? It's in a conjunction with, which is an alliance. It's an alignment in your 12th house of endings for change, innovation, and also independence, right? Uranus is the rebel, but can come in like a tower. It's there with Mars, and I feel like they're definitely teaming up well together. Yeah, and so Mars is, helping you move into change and assert your own power. All right. Yeah, and now we have Jupiter. Let's talk about Jupiter here. Before we move away from that, Mars is squaring the nodes, and we can see it right here, right? The nodes of higher potential and the nodes of the past and what we need to move away from. So, Mars is making that square here to the north node. It's asking you to make an adjustment and move into accept the growth and expansion. The north node is in your ninth house of growth and expansion and purpose and what's meaningful to you. And Mars is kind of compelling you to act here, to act and move toward your higher self, Cancer. All right. Yeah, and it is ruled by Jupiter. It's beautiful how Jupiter is growth and expansion, and it rules your ninth house of growth and expansion. So that's a beautiful thing. And Jupiter is right, is the ruler of the North Node here for you. Jupiter is also ruling Sagittarius. This is your sixth house of work, health and wellness, obstacles. This is kind of overcoming obstacles for you as I see this. And that sixth house is also about your daily practical affairs. There's something you're kind of, this can help you, kind of just move through your daily life with more authority. Yeah, I feel like that's what's going on here. We also have Mars squaring the South Node. The South Node is what we need to move away from. It's on the other side of the axis, right? Of the higher purpose here with the North Node. That South Node is lack. It's what's limiting us. It's the past. It can be the familiar past that does not help us grow. We don't want to stay there. It can be wounds as well, but we don't never want to stay unconsciously, everybody's trying to move away from the South Node, all right? It's in your house of ideas, in your house of thinking. You're thinking differently about how you're moving forward, and that's what the astrology or the horoscope is compelling you to do, compelling you to act and move away from the past and move into your higher self. I find that to be highly beautiful, and helping you also with your willpower. Mars is willpower. It's making the square to your third house of willpower, ideas, and things like that. And it is helping you as Mars rules your fifth house of self-expression, right? Your fifth house of how you shine. And this is also has to do with a little bit of authority over your own life, because your self-expression and how you show yourself to the world is, has a lot to do with the authority that the Capricorn full moon is speaking of. All right. Mars is ruling that 10th house of career and authority over your own life. So it's very beautiful, Cancer. And I'm going to move on right now to Leo. If you enjoyed my reading today or my video, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell. It's helping me to, get to the next step. I really appreciate you, Cancer. I sure do. Um, yes. And so let's go ahead and talk about Leo. If you want a reading with me, go to the description box and you can book a reading on my website. All right. Excuse me. And the full moon for Leo is in the 6th and the 12th house axis of obstacles. So Leo, there's something that, Capricorn itself or Saturn itself can kind of speak of obstacles, but kind of restrictions. But it is, in the higher message here is to move into our own authority. If you watch the intro, I hope you did. If you didn't, go back and watch the intro first. It will make this will make far more sense if you have seen the intro. Okay. Now, yeah, so we have the full moon in the 6th house, and let's put you on the ascendant, which is very important so you can see the chart, right? And here's the full moon. All right, so here's the opposition between your 6th and your 12th. This is also, excuse me, this is the axis of endings and release and intuition and spiritual growth, right where the sun is, and the moon is over here in your house of health and wellness and work, um, and also your daily affairs, all right? How you live your life on a daily basis, your habits, all right, and your lifestyle. So that is also, this is obstacles here, and the 12th house is also the house of self-undoing. So we talked about here just briefly right here, the sun is in your house of intuition and spiritual growth. So although it is the house of self-undoing, there's a release here that the moon is asking you to do, end something, let something go that may have to do with your emotional needs, your emotional foundation that is not supporting you, right? And so the moon is being ruled by Saturn. And also incidentally, or we have this axis here for you, Leo. It's also in a health axis. And this 12th house is being ruled by the moon. Well, Cancer, right, where the sun is. But Cancer is about your emotional health. It sure is, your emotional needs. And this 6th house, it can be and this 12th house is also about your mental health. It is. And so, and this house is about your physical health, right? The 6th house. So this is a health axis. That's another way to explain that, or another meaning there for you. All right. The moon is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is ruling your 6th and your 7th house. So this 7th house is relationships. It sure is. It's also your house where you create harmony and balance in your life, which is we can't do anything without that in our life. Or if we are doing something, it's diminishing us or kind of, holding us back, right? And we just talked about the health here. So maybe there's something here that the full moon can show you about your well-being or your health, right? This is the house of health and well-being, the 6th house, all right? Um, Maybe there is some type of obstacle that you kind of really need to remove there, right? Maybe it has to do with other people not bringing you harmony and balance to your life, or maybe the people that you choose. Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and move forward here. And this is also the house of legal matters and opponents, people or situations that don't agree with you, right? Doesn't have to be a full-on fight. It just, they don't align with you or something, something in that nature, right? There's something here being shown to you, Leo, about you, how you create wellness or harmony in your daily life. And the sun is making a square to Saturn. Let's look at that. So here we have the sun, and let's just do this. I just want to look at the sun. Yeah, the sun's aspects. So the sun is squaring Saturn, and this is in your ninth house of growth and expansion. It's in your ninth house of wisdom. Um, yeah, and also your higher purpose, or what creates meaning for you, or what you feel like creates meaning for you and purpose. The sun is making that square. And so Leo, the sun is your your planet, your luminary, right? It's not really a planet, but it is your luminary there, and the sun rules the solar system, right? And so the sun is, this is your self-expression, right? And it is in your 12th house of endings, making the square to Saturn. And so, yeah, there needs to be a little bit more, when we talk about that, there needs to be a little bit more balance here about your, in your daily life, or maybe that has to do with your work, because we have the moon in your sixth house of work, right? You may feel like something is blocking your expansion. Yeah, as I talk about, right, as I was kind of talking about this ninth house where Saturn is, you could be feeling something is blocking your or diminishing, uh, blocking your expansion or your growth, or maybe diminishing what has meaning for you or what makes you enthusiastic. Yeah, because this ninth house is about, what you're enthused about as well, right? What brings you growth and meaning. So let me just grab water here, you guys. I beg your pardon. All right, so let me get right back to this here. And yeah, and so and Mars is the ruler of Saturn right here, because Saturn is in Aries, right? Um, that's right. Is Saturn, Mars is the ruler of Saturn, and your ninth house and your ninth house, Mars is the ruler of Saturn here because Saturn sits in Aries, and Mars also rules, for you, Leo, is ruling your fourth house of emotional needs. So there's something here that is, or your home and family. It can be related to that as well, um, right? And Mars is, yeah, ruling that ninth house of growth and expansion. So Mars is right here. Let's look at Mars. Mars is making the square to the nodes of true potential, and the node of what you need to move away from, right? This is, and so we have Mars there. Mars is in your 11th house of future aspirations. This is also the house of friends and social groups, social connections, people that you feel like, maybe align with you, or maybe your beliefs and things like that. This is the house also of, hopes and wishes and gains, usually from the 10th house of career here. And Venus is ruling your 10th house of career, but Mars is making this square to your second house of well-being. So, Leo, there's something going on here about your well-being, because we're talking about the sun in Cancer. That's part of the full moon, which is your emotional needs or your emotional foundation. All right. This can have to do with your money as well, because Mars is in the house of gains. It can be fame as well. This 11th house is, also fame, right? But here we have Mars, and we talk about fame. We can talk about any type of fame. You don't have to be in Hollywood. You could be, a YouTuber with fans, right? Or on Instagram or something like that, right? But we have Mars making the square to the South Node, and that South Node is in your house of well-being, stability, and, financial stability as well, self-worth. But it's asking you kind of for you to leave something behind here, that move away from something that is not good for your well-being, or not good for your, maybe your financials or your values as well, what you value, or, maybe your values are changing. Mars wants something new. could be asking you to change your values as they connect to your growth and expansion, because we see Mars ruling your ninth house, right? Now, for the south node here, Leo, we have it's in Virgo, and Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is ruling Mars right here because Mars is in Gemini. So there's something about the way you think, um, right? And that has to do with your future. It can have to do with social, friends, or something that has to do with these people that you maybe are no longer aligning with. That could be the case. But this is Mars wants you to have something new for your future, Leo. It sure does. And it's asking you to leave something out here that is affecting your well-being or your stability in some way. It could be your money, as I said, right? The second house is a money house. Now we have also, and the nodes are in your money axis here, right? So we have this Mars from your 11th house squaring. This is also asking you to make an adjustment. That's what the square is. That's why it's red. It's a little startling, right? Red, but standing out. And that is, making that square to the north node of true potential in your eighth house of transformation. There's a big change here for you, Leo. It's asking, that's what the full moon is illuminating, some type of big change for you. Yeah, I believe it is. For sure it is. And we already saw the sun in your house of endings over here. All right. And this north node of true potential, um, and where we're all really trying to go, consciously or unconsciously, right? And it can have to do with a group of people too, but the North Node is what is unknown to us. And that's where the possibilities are for us, what is unknown, right? Good things that can come to us, things that that we kind of step into so we can grow, right? And become our true potential. That is always unknown to us, right? We don't know what's going to happen in the future. That's why the South Node is what we need to move away from. We've already experienced it. We already understand it. There's no growth here. And you're moving away from something that's not bringing you growth. That's what you're doing here. And you're stepping into some type of transformation. But the square is asking you to do that, is actively asking you, especially with Mars here doing the square. Mars is courage and the will to act. All right. Yeah. So, and Mars is also conjoined with Uranus, Leo, and Uranus is right here. Uranus has to do with change and independence. It has to do with the future. Yeah, and it's in your future-oriented house in your 11th. So Mars there is kind of shaking up, shaking something up about the way you think about the future right there. That has to do maybe with your values, but this conjunction is actually helping you, right? Yeah, and you may have a different perspective also about kind of home and family. You might have that moving forward. Mars is ruling this fourth house of home and family, and that is, or your emotional needs. Like what kind of supports your emotional needs? You definitely could, especially with the square to the second house for you, right? And Venus, let's talk about Venus here because Venus is very important here. Venus is in your sign. Yes, it's in your first house of self, Leo. And here is Venus making a square, not a, it is making a square, but it's really making, I want to look at the trine right here. The trine is important, right? Well, so is the square a little bit, but this trine is supporting you. It's making it easier for you uh, to kind of step into your purpose. It is trining Saturn, right, which is the ruler of the full moon, representing authority over your own life or achievement, long-term goals, right? Your status even, but Venus here is making a trine here to that ninth house of growth and expansion. So again, higher purpose and wisdom. Yeah, and that is being ruled by Mars. We already talked about Mars. Now Venus is here, uh, but Venus represents money and love and self-worth, right? And we kind of we talked about that square from Mars, which is the will to act, ruling this ninth house of growth and expansion, ruling Saturn. And so Venus is there's an ease here for you to for you to grow into your higher purpose, whatever, or find something that is very meaningful to you, right? That matters, that enthuses you for the future and possibly for the long term. That's Saturn. And that's what the full moon is kind of showing you here. Yeah. And Venus is also about your self-worth. You're really stepping into your own authority over your own life. And Saturn is actually helping you grow here, right? It definitely is. And yeah, Venus is ruling your third house of thinking, choices, and ideas. It's in Libra, right? And, so this is helping you think kind of think clearly about the future. Something will illuminate here with the full moon, right? And this is also, Venus is ruling your house of willpower. This is choices, decisions, ideas, your communication. And Venus rules your 10th house of career and authority over your own life, your status. So we saw how everything kind of clicked here and connected. I hope you did, right? And I hope you enjoyed my video today, Leo, my reading. Thank you so much for being with me here today. And hit the little bell and please like, share, and subscribe. Somebody else might benefit from this reading. It's helping me also get to where I need to be here on YouTube, right? I really appreciate you. If you want a reading with me, check out the description box and you will see my website below. Thanks so much, Leo, for joining me here today. Hi, Virgo. So for Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising or Ascendant, and Virgo, the full moon is illuminating something that has to do with your self-expression, your self-identity, your personal authenticity, romantic love, or perhaps children. This is also possibly how you enjoy your life, all right, which is important. And the moon opposes the sun in your 11th house. So I have you up here on the ascendant so you can see the chart. And don't worry about where it says Capricorn full moon over here because each time I change the ascendant, if the label is here, it will not, if the heading is there, it won't let me change it. Also, Virgo, I hope you watch the intro because this reading will be far more resonating or rich and like clear and understandable or comprehensive. Yeah, it will be. All right. So go watch the intro if you haven't seen it yet. So let's continue here. But the moon is opposing the sun. The moon's down here in your fifth house of self-expression, talents, hobbies, and also it's opposing the sun in your 11th house. Now, and I explained the signs here in the intro, what Cancer really means and, what Capricorn really means and the full moon itself, kind of. But these houses are where the moon and the full moon and the sun are there, right? So the sun is in your 11th house of future aspirations. This is your house of friends and social connections. It's also about like-minded people and who you feel like you vibe with, kind of, or who you maybe identify with as somebody who maybe thinks the way you do, or kind of somebody you kind of maybe understand, so to speak, right? Now, yeah, and that 11th house, Virgo, where the sun sits, this is also the house of hopes and wishes and future aspirations, hopes and wishes, and gains. Yeah, usually gains from the 10th house here, which is ruled by your Mercury. Wow, your own Mercury. But the 10th house of career and status, and also, the authority that you kind of wield over your own life. And that's really what the moon is over here in Capricorn, right? The moon is being ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is the natural ruler of that 10th house. Now, yeah, and so Saturn is also ruling your 6th house right here. It rules your 5th and your 6th. Your 6th house is your house of work and health and wellness. It's also service, um, and also obstacles and daily affairs. Everything that you have to do on a daily basis, your habits, your routines, your obligations, and it can be your responsibilities as well. So this is right, and so that's what we have here. Saturn is ruling that house. Saturn itself is in your eighth house of transformation. So during a full moon, if the ruler is in your house of transformation, there's a big change for you, a really big one, right? Now, yeah, Saturn is in Aries. That is also the sign of the self. So it may, can be something very personal. And that eighth house, since it's ruling your sixth house of work and your fifth house of self-expression and fun and romance, but this here, Saturn here, you might be ending a job, you could be ending a relationship, you could be because something is either ending or transforming or regenerating here. It can be a job, it can be your daily life. Maybe your life is going to change, just kind of like do a 180, right? And this is, whatever you're ending, it maybe is definitely linked to your self-expression or what you want to create for yourself moving forward. And Saturn sits in Aries. This is the sign of the self, which is related to your self-expression and your motivation, right? And what's driving you in this life, right? Aries is about, it can be about how you look, but it's the first sign. It rules the rising sign in the natural chart. And so, yeah, and that is about courage and drive and, going after all the things that we want to go after in this life, right? Now, yeah, and this can also be about home and family. It could be because remember the sun is in Cancer. Oh, there we go. That's a better. The sun is in Cancer. So, and that, right? And that's also your emotional needs, your 11th house. So I find that to be interesting, right? It can be that your friends and people you align with are really important to your emotional foundation. And it can be also your future aspirations, right? Like, change and what you want for yourself as well, in terms of your hopes and wishes. So, and Cancer is there. So that's really interesting. It's in Cancer. So, yeah, and you may, this can be very important to you, nurturing yourself as you move forward, right? You could be saying everybody needs that, but some people need it more than others, and that really kind of depends on the houses in your own natal chart. Yes, so, yeah, and Mars is the ruler of that eighth house where where Saturn is, and I was talking about Saturn here. Mars is also ruling Virgo. Let's move this closer. Mars is also ruling Scorpio, and that is in your third house of ideas. This is the third house of thinking, choices, decisions, skills, plans, and goals. It's also your third house of willpower. And the fact that Mars is ruling that, looks like Virgo has a lot of willpower for sure, right? Yeah, and so, like you do, and that's a great thing, right? And so let's move this a little bit out of the way. I don't know why that's like, maybe you probably can't see it. I don't know if you can see that or not, and just move this up a little bit here. Now, let's see what else I have for you. Mars is in your house of career. It's in your 10th house right here. In your 10th house of career, status, social roles, and responsibilities. So that status is, you're retiring or you're getting married or that is status. And this 10th house is really the 10th house of Capricorn in the natural chart. Yours is ruled by Mercury, but so we're talking about things that are here. We are, with Mars there in that house. There's something you want. You want like a status or a new social role. Maybe you want to retire. Maybe you're making decisions about retirement, things like that. It is ruled by Mercury, and that does rule, what we're thinking about. And yeah, interesting there. So, um, yeah, so there's a big change for you here with like because Mars rules your eighth house of transformation. So you're doing something here. Mars is squaring the nodes of fate, right? As it squares the south node in your first house or in your sign, that is, kind of the squares are in red because they want us to do something. They're a bit challenging, but they really want us to make an adjustment in our lives, right? To make life better, of course, not to make life worse, of course not. That's what astrology is really about. It is about knowing yourself at a very deep level, very deep, so you can be more empowered. And, understanding yourself is the key, right? Not understanding, other things that are external to us. It's understanding yourself. So, and that's why your natal chart, a reading, can really empower you. It sure can. It can also set you free. Yeah, it can. It can heal and set you free. But we have Mars squaring the South Node in your first house, which is ruled, they're both ruled by Mercury, right? Mars is in Gemini. You share Mercury with Gemini. And it is squaring that South Node, and it is asking you or kind of compelling you to act and leave something behind or move away from what is limiting you or what has limited you. And is, lucky for you, the South Node will be moving out of your first house, and into Leo. But this is, the South Node is associated with lack or what limits you or just what is so familiar that you're not growing from it, right? There's nothing new, right? And, we grow where things are not familiar, which is here, the North Node, where the possibilities are endless, right? But with the South Node, everything is just so familiar. Men have done it a million times. This can be wounds as well, but Mars is helping you to move away from what no longer serves you or helps you or supports you. It's helping you move away from that. And that South Node is ruled by Mercury right there. Mercury is in, right here in your 11th house where the sun is. So, Mercury's here showing you something because Mercury represents our thinking. It's showing you something about your future. And Mercury is here with Jupiter wanting you to grow and expand or move into your purpose, especially in that 11th house of the future, right? Now, we have Mars, yeah, making that square to the South Node. And yeah, Mercury, you're thinking about your future here, for sure you are. And that's why you have so many you already have, we talked about three different things that are showing a transformation in your life, right? A major transformation, I would say. Yeah, with Saturn, the ruler of the full moon. The full moons can be endings as well, things that are culminating, like, oh, this has to happen now, or can be ending and creating a new beginning, but they're powerful realizations. And Saturn is in your house of, the ruler of the full moon is in your eighth house of transformation. Um, right? Yeah. And then, yeah, so there are other things here showing this kind of ending and transformation. Yeah, Mars wants something new. And here is Mars in you may not like your social role, whatever that is. If you don't, maybe you don't want to be married, or maybe you want to get married, or maybe you want children, the full moon, or you don't, maybe, because the full moon is in your fifth house of self-expression, children, romantic love, right? And, and your own self-expression, which is very important. It sure is. So, and remember, and also Mars is in this 10th house of where you are taking the authority over your own life. That's what Mars is. Mars wants something new, and that is the 10th house of agency and authority over yourself. And also, whether that be career or not, also that is status and social roles, right? Now, Mars is squaring this, the North Node, which is your true potential. We're always moving there. That's what we're doing, consciously or unconsciously. I always like to say that because some people are not aware of that. They no, but still, they're still going there. That's a good thing. Now, Mars is making that square here. It's ruled by and this is your higher purpose, true potential and higher purpose. It's being ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is kind of buddying up here or aligning with your natal Mercury. So Jupiter is leaving to move into Leo just the day after the full moon, all right? But right now, on the day of the full moon, Mercury and Jupiter are making a beautiful conjunction there. It's a beautiful alignment where Mercury is really kind of telling Jupiter, this is what I want. This is what I want for my purpose. This is what's meaningful to me. So that's what they're doing there, right? Um, yes, and Jupiter is also ruling Pisces, which is your seventh house of relationships. All right, so there can be something definitely here, especially with that moon in the fifth house of romantic love. There could be something that you might want a new relationship. It just really kind of depending here, right? And Jupiter is ruling that seventh house of partnerships, but that's the seventh house of, business, romantic, one-on-ones, business and clients, right? But it's the house of where you create harmony in your life. And Mars is and opponents and or things and situations that don't really agree with you, right? That is the natural house of Libra, always trying to create balance. So this Mars squaring your ruling your house of ideas down here and squaring this north node ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter's in your 11th house of the future. This is like you feel compelled. You're probably feeling compelled to act and to make some type of major change in your life so you can move toward your higher purpose or what you feel is your potential, right? Yeah, well, yeah, exactly right. Um, yeah, and maybe what you feel like is your destiny as well, because the North Node can represent our destiny. Yeah, it sure can. All right, so now Mercury. Uh, let's see what else. We talked about Mercury a little bit. We did. Yeah, about it ruling your house of career. Yeah, you might want a new life, Virgo, a new relationship, new work, or maybe, a new career sometimes. But Mercury is ruling it. This 10th house is about what you want for the long term as well. And that's where Mercury is ruling, and Mercury sits in your house of the future. This talks about what you want for your long term, however old you are. That's kind of how it looks in this particular reading. Yeah. And yes. All right. So the moon in your fifth, we talk about that. This could be illuminating themes of children, right? It could be whether or not you want them, sort of, or there could just be themes about children here. Venus is in your 12th house of endings. Here's Venus in Leo, and Venus is happy to be in Leo. The 12th house is where you purge, or, it's a 12th house of endings and release. Um, and so you look like you're releasing something. And remember, Venus rules love, right? It rules love, it rules beauty, it rules self-worth, and also money. Yeah. So, and stability. So self-worth and well-being, stability, money. And so here, and your values, there could be, you might have another, like your values may have changed. And this is why you want something to change, some type of social role, your role in some way. Now, Venus sits in that 12th house. It's ruled by the sun. It's ruled by Leo, right? And here's the sun ruling that fifth house of self-expression, romantic love, etc. So for me, there's something to do with you wanting some type of change. Like I said, maybe you want to get married, maybe you want to get a divorce, right? That's this, that's really not clear. I'd have to see your own natal chart. But Venus is here and making a trine to Saturn. So here's Venus in the 12th house saying, well, it can be saying, I'm releasing something regarding love. It's in Leo. Leo is romantic and creative, right? And so you could be releasing a relationship, as I said, but whatever you're doing, it could be how you show yourself to the world in terms of your self-expression and your reputation up here, your status, right? Yeah, your role and how you show yourself to the world and how other people see you. Right? And here's Venus making that trine to Saturn, the ruler of the full moon. And these are both hidden houses. Very interesting, the 8th and the 12th. Um, yeah, and so Saturn is being ruled by Mars. Mars rules your third house of ideas. You've been thinking about this most likely, and now something may be culminating, right, Virgo? Now, um, yeah, and that trine is very favorable, right? It's a very supportive aspect. It's a fire trine, which can mean movement and passion. So, there's something here that you're being supported, some type of transformation or ending is definitely being supported here for you, Virgo. Um, yeah, and also, yeah, Venus is in that 12th house. Venus is, we talked about what Venus means, right? There could be something that has been, it's inevitable that it will end. Yeah, you could also be with Saturn here in your hidden house and Venus also in another house, hidden house. You could be possibly you could have a secret love or you could be reuniting with a secret love. That's a possibility. Or somebody maybe from the past. The moon is here in your fifth house of romantic love, but the moon rules the past as well. So yeah, so thank you so much, Virgo, for joining me here today. I really appreciate you. If you liked my video, please like, share, and subscribe, and make a comment. Right, it's really helping me. I would love a comment, and also hit the little bell. Oops, so you can, receive notification of my next upload. If you want a reading with me, they're awesome. I'm very passionate about them. They are because they're very empowering and eye-opening. They sure are. So check out the description box where my website is. And thank you, Virgo. We're going to move on now to Libra. All right, just talked to a Libra today. Yes. Okay, so Libra, the full moon is in your fourth house of emotional needs, home and family, and the past, right? This is your lineage as well. And it all is also represents like the space that you live in or where where your physical home is or your idea of home and family, right? Now, this is the natural axis, not access, axis, right? Where we have the opposition regarding the Capricorn full meaning for you, the full moon will be powerful. Yes, it will be. Saturn is in Aries and it's in your seventh house of relationships. So this is your opposite sign. Saturn is in detriment in Aries. But here, Libra, we have yeah, and Saturn, and this is in your seventh house of partnerships, any type, romantic, business, whatever, one-on-ones, clients, right, and business. It's also your house of where you create harmony. And that is very important, right? Harmony and balance, because especially important to you, Libra, because this is your house. Saturn is sitting in your natural house in the zodiac, right? In the natural chart. So there's Saturn sitting there. And this is also your house of opponents, the other person, people who don't agree with you, or situations that may not, and this is also your house of legal matters or justice, right? So we have that there. Um, yeah, and so um, yeah, and so Saturn is receiving a trine. Yeah, this is your house of opponents. Yeah, I mentioned that. But Saturn is receiving a trine from your natal Venus. So let's look at that. And here's Venus in your 11th house of the future. So that is also in your house of friends and social groups, hopes and wishes and gains, usually from the 10th house of career up here, which the sun is in that house for you. The sun is also trying to show you something about the sun is also in your house of I hope you watch the intro because that will explain this video it'll kind of give you a much insight when you come into this video to understand the horoscope that I'm explaining, right? Yeah, the intro is always very important. All right. So it makes the horoscope much richer for you as well. So here we have Venus, but and the sun, yeah, the sun is in Cancer, in nurturing Cancer, and Cancer represents our emotional needs, as I was mentioning. And so, yeah, the sun. Okay, so we have the sun there, but um, where was I on this here? Excuse me. All right. So yeah, Saturn is the ruler of the full moon, right? Is receiving a trine from your natal Venus, and the moon is squaring right here. The moon is making a square to Saturn. And we can see it right here with the red line, right? So, this is very interesting because the moon is being ruled by Saturn and it is squaring Saturn in your seventh house of relationships. And then we have the moon, and then we have Venus supporting you from your 11th house to your seventh house of relationships. So for me, there's so much potential for either a relationship for you or for you to create harmony and balance in that relationship, or to create something lasting with structure and foundation, or long term as well. But the moon is making a square to, and the moon is your emotional needs here, is making a square to that Saturn in your seventh house. So um, it's possible here that there's a relationship that you really like, or it's very important to you, but it may be a little bit of a challenge for you to get your emotional needs met. Yeah, definitely. And Mars, where Saturn sits, Mars is ruling your second house of well-being. You see what I mean? So you may not share the same values with somebody here as well, but there's like big time potential. There's desire. Maybe you guys are both like doing well with your career. Venus can have to do with, money, and then Saturn is also, career and achievement. So, right, Venus is love, and and so there could be something here that Venus is also your well-being though, and your self-worth. And here we have Mars ruling that house. So there's just something here that you feel like your needs are not being like met entirely. There's something like that. All right. Maybe there's like a little bit of a disagreement here, because here we have the moon making a square to that seventh house of relationships and harmony and balance, right? All right, so let's see what else we have. The sun is in nurturing Cancer, Libra, and here's the sun, and it is um, also squaring Saturn, you see, and this is in your 10th house of career, and the authority that you like wield over your own life, right? Yeah, it is very important. Authority and ambition, achievement. But it is also how you show yourself to the world. It's kind of like your reputation, like you're showing yourself as kind of, with this personal agency over your life, or it's being challenged a little bit, because here it is, the sun squaring Saturn, and the sun is your self-expression as well, right? So the sun is in nurturing Cancer, which is a very good thing. It sure is. But with the square to your seventh house, there's just some type of an imbalance with either with a relationship, maybe, or how you kind of, or it could be a particular relationship, but or maybe the ones that you have been dealing with, because the moon is about the past, right? And the sun is here in Cancer being ruled by the moon. Very interesting there, right? The sun in Cancer kind of, it can talk about where you just nurture yourself, right? Yeah, nurture your well-being, your self-expression, nurture your talents, nurture your own personal agency and your authenticity. Maybe you don't feel kind of there could be somebody here where you don't feel entirely like there's this great connection, but you don't feel entirely authentic or something like that. Or maybe, it's hard to speak up. It's going to depend. Of course, I'd have to see your chart, all right? Yeah, the sun in Cancer wants to feel like it's being seen, and that its feelings are being considered. That is for sure, right? Now, Venus, we talked about Venus, we did, and Venus is also ruling your this eighth house of transformation, Libra. So Venus is here making that square to the part of fortune. Yes, and yes, and don't pay attention to the DC. The DC is typically here, but when I start moving signs to the ascendant, changing the ascendant, this will move. But this was originally here, yes. So the descendant is the seventh house, the relationship or the other. But here we have that square to part of fortune. Part of fortune wants to thrive. It's what helps us to thrive and feel really well. And Venus is supporting your self-worth there, or how you kind of show up in relationships, and so what's happening here is that This square is asking for a change or a transformation because it's an adjustment and it is to your eighth house of transformation. This can have to do with intimate relationships, like I've been saying, right? It can. It can have to do with the money that you earn with somebody or the money you share with somebody else. Doesn't always have to be romantic. It doesn't. It can be, business relationship or shared wealth or, which is can be bonuses and commissions and all these things, inheritance and, even taxes. That's shared wealth, right? Right. Yeah. But, and this is a hidden house here as well. So, maybe you didn't kind of understand this before. Maybe you didn't understand that a change needs to happen. When there's a square to the eighth house, it often means that some type of major change should happen, and so can the moon, which is in your house of emotional needs and home and family. All right. And the sun is in your house of career and the authority you wield over your own life, really, your status as well. Um, yeah, let's see what else we have. And so now we have Mars, right? And Mars, where is Mars? Mars is here in, it's in Gemini, right here. Okay, so Mars is in your ninth house of growth and expansion, Libra. Mars rules your seventh house of relationships, where Saturn sits, the ruler of the full moon, and Mars also rules Scorpio, your second house of well-being and self-worth. So we have something going on there. We sure do. With this kind of theme, Mars is being ruled by Mercury here. Mercury's in your 10th house of, once again, career or authority over your own life. All right. Um, Social roles and things like that. So here we have Mars making the square to the South Node in your 12th house. And the 12th house is the house of release and endings, but you're supposed to release something that has to do with the way you think, possibly, and whatever is kind of challenging your growth and expansion. Mars is in your ninth house of growth and expansion, higher purpose, what's meaningful to you, or what matters to you. Yeah, what really matters to you. So for me, it looks like what's mattering, in this, it could be, some a relationship, or it definitely can be, or your emotional needs, because you're the only one besides Aries who has these, because Aries is your opposite sign. So when we start to switch the wheel, yours is in the fourth, and the moon's in the fourth, and the sun's in the 10th. And that's what this full moon is about in the natural chart, the fourth and the 10th. All right. These are angular houses. They're very important. The most important, it's the first, the fourth, the seventh, and the 10th. Those are the most important because it's our relationships, our self-expression, our career, our long-term, yeah, and our emotional needs and our own motivation. Those are those four houses I was speaking about, not in any particular order, sort of, right? And here's Mars squaring that, asking you to, kind of compelling you to act. That's what Mars is about, to let something go, purge some type of, like, the way you think about something, or things that are kind of maybe bothering you. Or this is the house of self-undoing. It's also the house of doubts and fears. The good thing is it's a house of intuition and spiritual growth. Yeah, this is where we can transcend in the 12th house, right? And Mercury is in your 10th house, as I was saying. So, yeah, very interesting there how it's doing that. It's asking you to release something here related to your social role or the authority over your own life. It could be, sometimes the 10th house is related to a father, an authority figure. Maybe somebody in your life is kind of an authority figure, even maybe they're just a partner, but they kind of feel like they're in charge. It can be something like that because there is a lot going on with your relationship house here with Saturn in the seventh. And then, yeah, it definitely is. And Venus is in your 11th house. um, you know, Venus was is yeah, Venus is making that trine to Saturn. So there's something here that you want for the future. You want something to change. That is very clear here. And now, when we look at Mars here, Mars is always courage and drive and the will to go after your desires and the will to act. So, and Mars is in Gemini, so you may have been thinking about what needs to change or what you are trying to accomplish in this reading, right? Or with the full moon. But the full moon can illuminate all this for you, right? Maybe you're, because, here is, Venus, your own Venus is ruling your eighth house. It's a hidden house. And the south node that receives this kind of square here is in another hidden house. All right. The moon is in a hidden house for you. So this means that you may not be aware. That's really what that means, right? Um, yeah. And so now we have Mars making a square to the north node of higher potential. It's asking you to kind of move towards your true potential and asking you to release something over here, right? Now, something that is related to your 10th house, right? Because here's Mercury sitting there. All right. So, yeah. And so we have that Mars making the square to the north node. This is your true potential. It can be your higher purpose, fate and destiny, but it's definitely where we're going to kind of, it's our soul's mission. That's really what that is, your soul's mission. And this south node over here is the past, the familiar past, the past that doesn't help you grow, the past that might have, memories that kind of maybe bother you, wounds and family and all this stuff. It can be. So, um, yeah, and so it's also in discerning Virgo. So and it's coming from Mercury ruled Virgo, Gemini to Mercury ruled Virgo. So it's asking you to think about what needs to go. All right. Now, Mars makes that square, the square to the North Node, and the North Node is being ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter's in your 10th house of this, that we've been talking about, really, the status, authority over your own life, your social role, how you show yourself to the world, how people classify you or see you. Yeah, right. And so also, potentially maybe your career. That is the 10th house there. It's about the long term and, it is. And so, but we have Jupiter there with Mercury. Mercury is kind of coaching Jupiter, going, hey, think about what you want to grow and expand for yourself for the long term. Think about what's really meaningful to you. And Jupiter is ruling that north node of higher potential. All right. And this is associated with the future, but the unknown future. There's only possibilities, right? The possibilities lie in the unknown. So we have to have courage when we move forward, right? And I'm not saying this from a place of criticism. I'm saying this from a place of psychology, right? That's really what astrology is, this, psychology of the stars. That's all it is. So, and it's a big thing. It definitely is, right? Now, this North Node being ruled by Jupiter in Pisces, asking you to trust in your future. Yes, it's asking you to trust there. And Venus is supporting your future right here, Libra. All right. Now, Venus, not Venus, but Jupiter will only be in Cancer for one more day. It moves into Gemini the day after. Wow. So that's going to be interesting, but that will move, not Gemini, it moves into Leo. I hope I didn't say, yeah, it moves into Leo and moves this way, right? It was in Gemini last year for a whole year, but it's moving into your 11th house of the future, really asking you what is meaningful for you moving forward, right? What matters to you regarding future aspirations and things like that. But here we have Jupiter ruling that sixth house of work, health, and wellness, but it's also ruling your daily affairs, your life, how it moves or just how it functions every day, your habits, your obligations, your routines, your lifestyle. So there's a square there saying something needs to change that has to do with, may have to do with lifestyle. This can be work as well because the sun is up here in the career house, right? It may be, right? But I'm just seeing what I'm seeing here, right? Jupiter and the North Node in Pisces asking you to trust your intuition, believe in your dreams and your visions. And it is also not kind of, but supporting spiritual growth. It really is. Don't buy into doubts and fears. because right here, Mars is squaring the south node in your 12th house, kind of pushing you to release the past or release doubts and fears, release illusions, things that might not even, come true, but that you're kind of afraid of, or things like that, and release anything that is kind of related to self-undoing, or self-undoing, or maybe addiction, but or just things that kind of limit you. There we go. Things that are concerned with or related to lack, or things that may limit you. All right. Now, Jupiter rules your third house of thinking. So with Mars making those squares, you're definitely thinking about your future here, as the North Node is in being ruled by Jupiter, but in your sixth house of work and wellness, but it's in Pisces. So this is about, as I said, what you can hope for, right? But it's squaring this, and excuse me, and Venus is in that 11th house of the future. So there's a lot of support here for you, Libra. There really is. And yeah, and also when we have Venus, not Venus, but Jupiter, which is, supporting your house of career, or your agency, or your like kind of authority over your own life, or your status, right? Now, Venus, Jupiter is supporting this third house, as I said, but this is your third house of thinking, ideas, plans, and goals. That's Jupiter, ruling Sagittarius. And this is you feel like you want something to grow here. That's what or you want to find more meaning. And but the stars are kind of supporting you here. They are. They're always supporting us, but they're kind of always asking for us to kind of make adjustments. That's kind of how it is, right? That's what all these squares are for. And that's what the opposition is with the full moon. It's asking us to make an adjustment, right? The full moon may illuminate all this for you, Libra, in case this kind of looked like Greek, right? Yeah. But thank you so much, Libra, for joining me here. If you've liked my content, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell. Um, yeah, hit the little bell, and you will be notified of my next reading. If you'd like a reading with me, I do past life healing, past life regression healing. It's very empowering, very eye-opening. Always showing you things that you kind of don't know about yourself. Yeah. And that's what astrology is about, is getting to know, really understanding your own psyche, because that is when the future is wide open. When we really understand ourselves, we step into our own empowerment, right? So thank you so much, Libra. Make a comment. I would love it if you would make a comment about your reading today. Yes, and thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. For Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. So for you, Scorpio, the full moon takes place in your thinking and higher purpose axis. It's the true or the original axis of Gemini and Sagittarius. Gemini ruling the thinking mind, and Sagittarius ruling higher realms and philosophy. All right, so we have the moon here and the sun. They're both at 8 degrees. And so this is also called the intellectual axis, right? The moon is in your third house of thinking, communication, choices, plans and goals, and decisions. Yeah, we make our decisions there. And this is also about, excuse me, about skills and willpower. This is the house of early childhood. So, the moon can bring you like some, you might be kind of thinking about, or, having these memories of childhood with the full moon, or, during the lunation, right? Now, it's also the house of siblings and extended family, local environment like the neighborhood and the community, or just the things that you do every day. That's kind of your local environment. If you drive the same way to work every day, that is a third house thing. It is. It's also about short distance trips. And the sun is in nurturing Cancer, another water sign, in your ninth house of growth and expansion. So here is the sun up here. And if you are watching, I have you here on the ascendant, so you can see the chart clearly, right? And you can see, where your placements are. And this is also your ninth house of what is meaningful to you, what really matters, wisdom, higher purpose, education, long distance travel, and far away land. So this is kind of we can say this is also the travel axis because Gemini, or the Gemini, the third house is the really under Gemini in the original chart. That is what that means. Right here, we have Saturn or Capricorn flavoring, excuse me, flavoring your third house. So, where was I on this? Yeah, and so the sun, we can call that the travel. This is about short distance travel, the local community in Sagittarius, or the ninth house. Yours is ruled by the moon, or it's ruled by Cancer, right? So we have the sun there, and the sun is in Cancer, nurturing Cancer, and we have it in conjunction. Let's look at that. And Cancer represents your emotional needs, Scorpio, your emotional security, your home and family, the past, right? Your lineage. It's also the mind-body complex. It is. Cancer represents our dreams and our intuition as well. And anything you really want to protect, right? It is the mother. And so, where do we have that? Let's look at the sun here, and we have this in conjunct showing up, but let's look at the opposition rather, right? So the opposition is with the full moon, with all full moons, always trying to merge the best energy of the sun and the best energy of the moon, or trying to show us, what's really going on with the sun in your ninth house for you and the moon in your third house, all right? You could be really learning something, right? Or something really, because the moon can always illuminate different things for us, powerful realizations, and yours is really in your thinking and your kind of learning access here. Very interesting. All right. Um, yeah. And so there's a balance here, Scorpio, between your higher purpose and your social or your public or your professional life. Um, Yeah, because that is the moon down here, and the sun is in your house of higher purpose and growth and expansion. So we have here, and I hope you'll see the intro because it explains so much here that I don't have to re-explain, right? Talking about Capricorn itself, the moon there and the sun in Cancer, because right now we're talking about those signs, but we're talking about your houses, which is different. Okay, or there's more to it basically, not necessary. Well, it is different, but there's more to it. Yeah, especially, yeah. So, um, yeah, and so there's something that maybe you want to teach as well. That could be the case. But there's something I feel like you are learning. It looks like there's always a bit of a sacrifice with each opposition, with each full moon. Full moons are actually supposed to bring kind of the natives or the shamans said that they're supposed to bring gratitude. Like you're supposed to be thankful. Something is ending and something's being shown. That is typically, the what they're talking about, but or ideally, or generally what they're talking about there, or specifically rather. But what the full moon can be a culmination of what has happened in December for you of 2025, right? From the new moon. The new moon creates something new, something hopeful. It's a transition sometimes, or a seed that's been planted. And now with the full moon, we can culminate that, or it can be culminating for you. Yeah. And so that opposition, Saturn, your beliefs may change too. They can because you have the sun in your ninth house of beliefs and philosophy. Now, Saturn is the ruler of the full moon, and it is here in Aries. It's been there for a while. It's going to be there for another, I'm not sure exactly, but the transit it's been there about a year now, I believe. The transit's at 14 degrees, probably has another year, maybe a year and a couple months, because Saturn only stays in a sign for 2 to 2.5 years, right? And sometimes each sign is a little different, yeah. But we have Saturn there. It's actually in detriment. It doesn't like to be in Aries because Saturn wants to be patient, and it's long-term oriented, and Aries is like, let's do this right now, and I don't have to really think about it. Saturn is, for the long term, kind of basically planning and thinking. So yeah, it feels a little restricted here, but Saturn is in your sixth house of daily routines. This is your house of health and wellness, your house of work and your habits, your obligations and obstacles. This is what you do. This house is about your lifestyle and kind of what you do day in and day out, right? And so Saturn is yeah, I said it was in detriment here. And we have Saturn ruling. Let's look at Saturn though, and we'll look at the aspect that it's making. Saturn is ruling your third and your fourth house. So the sun, I was talking about, this in conjunct here, which is called a quincunx. It's similar to an opposition, but it's asking us to make like an adjustment, right? So this is to Juno. Juno is about commitment. It is about also what you ideally want for commitment. It's related to that. And so the sun is, there's something about, and it is in your house of home and family. It's in your fourth house. Now, remember, Pluto is there. That is your modern day ruler, right? Mars is excuse me, your traditional ruler, and here is Saturn, the ruler of the full moon in Aries, ruled by Mars. So definitely, right, something's going on here. But we have this quincunx, and it is to Juno. And so, we have this, and this is like there's something that you want here, or like you feel like something is not, there's a lack of commitment or something like that. Or if there is commitment, it is not helping you to grow and expand. That could be what is happening there. The sun can be showing you that because the sun is in that ninth house. All right. So, yeah, there can be something you want here, but it's kind of lacking or something. Yeah, you really want to be committed to it. It's in your house of emotional needs and family. Um, yeah, and it's coming from Cancer, and Cancer rules emotional needs and family. So there's something going on there, right? Now, um, yeah, and so let's look a little bit more at Saturn. Yeah, and the sun is making a square to Saturn, you see, and the square is a little challenging. It is. We'll talk about the really good aspects here, which are the trines. We'll definitely get there, no worries. But we have that sun making a trine to trining both Neptune, not trining, sorry, making a square to both Neptune and Saturn in your sixth house. And so, that sun, though, is asking for some type of an adjustment regarding your purpose because it's in that ninth, your work, because it's to your sixth house, right? Your wellness, your health and wellness. It can be about your emotional security. Your health and wellness has everything to do with that, right? Or your daily lifestyle. And Mars, let's talk about Mars because Mars is your natal ruler, right? And Mars is actually in Gemini right now. Here it is, it's at 0 degrees, and this is in your eighth house of transformation. So the fact that the sun is making a square to Saturn in your Mars ruled sign, really, or house, now we have Mars in Gemini. Mars is very important. Mars is in curious and intellectual Gemini. Excuse me. And Mars is making a sextile to, this is the good stuff here, is making a sextile to Jupiter in your ninth house. This is an opportunity for you to grow or to step closer to your purpose, but you have to take action because Mars rules. Mars represents the will to act, the courage. So we have Mars, and it is about change because here we have Uranus conjunct, right? It's at 3 degrees and Mars is at 0 degrees in Gemini. In your eighth house of transformation, yeah, something's changing here, or or you want something to change, or you may be compelled to act to change something, right? Now, this is also your house of intimate relationships, the money you share with others, the money you earn with others, bonuses, 401ks, and all this kind of stuff, or with your partner. Can be inheritance, even taxes. But that eighth house is also about the occult. It's also about you understanding kind of either what is hidden, it's a hidden house, or what you couldn't see before and you understanding these deep psychological themes. This is your house in the natural chart or in the zodiac. Yeah, we could say. All right. And so here we have Mars squaring the nodes. These are the nodes of fate. And Mars is squaring your, let's go ahead and get Mars back on here. Mars is making a square to the North Node in your fifth house of love and sex. This is your house of self-expression, where you shine or where you are authentic about what you want in this life, or authentic in the world. You're showing yourself authentic. It's like moving into your talents and what your heart really wants. Being true to yourself, that has to do with the sun, right? Now, Jupiter's ruling that house, and we have Mars squaring the North Node. This is kind of letting you know, it can be letting you know, be true to yourself about something, maybe about a relationship. It depends. I mean, I don't have your natal chart here, but these fifth house themes, right? This can be about your creative talents as well, your self-expression, and it definitely can be. It's also about how you have fun. This house, in this, how we're enjoying our life. Maybe you are not enjoying something, because if Mars is, the sun is in this ninth house illuminating something, and your natal Mars is making a sextile to Jupiter, which is higher purpose and growth and expansion. You may not feel happy about something in your life. It's a possibility, you know. And yeah, and so we have that. This is ruled by Jupiter, and here's Mars making a sextile to Jupiter. How beautiful is that? So that is your opportunity to do something new and something that is meaningful to you. It definitely is, all right? And Mercury is there. Mercury is actually ruling Mars because you have Mars in Jupiter. I mean, Mars in Gemini. But Mercury is the brains, right? It's the curious, the intellect. It is telling Jupiter, come on, you can grow, or you can have this, or it's giving you ideas of, about your higher purpose or what really matters to you. All right. Now, Jupiter is ruling this fifth house that we were talked about, and it's also ruling Sagittarius, which is your second house of well-being. So, and the sun is in your house, and not your house, but the sign of your emotional needs. So there's something here that you kind of need to feel better, maybe, or to improve your well-being. And it's possible here that there's money involved because Mars is in your eighth house of of shared assets and other people's money, right? Which includes yours, but as well as other people's usually. All right, so yeah, but here's Jupiter, and it's ruling your second house of well-being, where we have this the shadow, and this is Lilith. It's been there for a while now, and I've talked about it before, but yeah, I mean, there's a big change here for you here. Yeah, Mars wants you to raise the bar, Scorpio, and live from the heart, and express yourself authentically. Yeah, and this can be about children, where children are involved too. That Mars making the square to the nodes here about your true potential. The North Node is about your true potential. It's about where you're going it's like your higher purpose. It's a little associated with Jupiter, right? So here's Mars making that square, asking you to do something um, for your higher purpose, right? For your true potential. That's what it's asking for. And it's squaring this Virgo in your 11th house of future aspirations. So it's making a square as well, to the South Node. And it's asking you to leave something behind, or that's something that's limiting, that is kind of limiting you moving forward because it's in your 11th house of future aspirations. It can be about people that you run in the social circles with, your friends, or people that you kind of like-minded people, groups of people, or it can just be a friend, as I said, where you maybe you feel like their energy is not good for you. That could be the case, right? Because that is that house. It's also the house of hopes and wishes and gains. So this is telling you here, for me, your horoscope is kind of telling you whatever you're doing here and what will change for you, or what will be illuminated for you with the lunation and the full moon, is that you know that there's a better way here, and is can be that some people are kind of blocking you, possibly, maybe the friends you're choosing, but is asking you to be very authentic with yourself and enjoy your life and show the real Scorpio, the powerful Scorpio, right? That's a Scorpio word. power. All right. So thank you so much, Scorpio, for joining me here today. Um, yes, and I'm going to move on to Sagittarius. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Make a comment. That'd be great, right? And so, yeah, I will see you in the next one. And if you want a reading with me, they're very deep. And yeah, and I know Scorpio likes depth and intensity for sure. I'm always very thorough and super. My readings they're awesome. You can get one. Check out the description box below. So thanks so much, Scorpio, for joining me. And now let's put the wheel on for Sagittarius on the ascendant. All right, Sagittarius, let's see what we have here. And yeah, and the full moon takes place in your second and your eighth house axis. So here is the full moon in your second house, and here's the sun up here, and which represents like what is mine and what is yours. Like this is the second house of possessions, self-worth, stability, and your own well-being or your own stability, sometimes financial, right? So it is a financial house, as is the eighth house. So but this is a house of what I share with others. So because yeah, that is that house. So that's one explanation of that, excuse me, that axis. It's also called the values and resources, and finding that within yourself or your own stability here, and finding stability here, or sharing wealth uh, with a trusted partnership, in a trusted partnership, right? And so and this can also be finding security through trust. It doesn't always have to be money, no, for sure not. This is also the self-worth, yeah, versus the shared power axis. Interesting, right? Because sometimes the eighth house can represent power struggles. And down here, this is about self-worth. And we know that self-worth is always connected to personal power, right? Yeah, it definitely is. All right. So natal Jupiter is in Cancer, and it loves being there, but it's leaving tomorrow on the 30th and moving into Leo. So we have Mercury here, telling, kind of whispering in Jupiter's ear, hey, there's something that you can grow and expand with, or there's a higher purpose for you, or you can grow, basically. That's really what that is kind of saying there. There's something bigger for you. It could be saying that because Jupiter does represent, the large or the dynamic and the big, right? And so we have that, yeah. And during this lunation, your thoughts may be on money because it's in that eighth house of shared wealth. And yeah, your thoughts could be on money or building wealth. It doesn't always have to be with somebody. This could be whoever's paying you. You're building your own wealth, right? Yeah, and if you own a company and you do contracts with other kind of companies and stuff like that. That is considered eighth house because you're still receiving money from other people. Yeah, you are. And perhaps what you kind of learn to support expansion and your higher purpose. Yeah, because this is yeah, this Jupiter is about learning for sure. Now Jupiter rules your fourth house of yeah, Jupiter is in Cancer. So this is helping you kind of learn about your lineage, learn about the mind body complex, the connection to maybe understand the past better, right? Because it's in Cancer, and that is, Cancer is about our lineage and our past, our home and family. Your home and family could be, maybe it has really improved over the past year because Jupiter has been there for a year now. All right, that is Jupiter's transit. Now, yeah, you could be understanding yourself at a very deep level. That's Cancer can, right? Because it speaks of the past and intuition and our lineage, right? Yeah, it does. All right. So, Jupiter is ruling your fourth house of home and family and emotional needs, right? And it's in Cancer right now. So there's a big theme right now for you, or there has been at least for the last year. The nodes are moving in July as well about home and family. So that's a good thing. Also about your emotional needs. You're understanding your emotional needs better. And we have also let me just fix this. Yeah. So that's what you're doing there. Jupiter rules your first house and your fourth house. And right now we have Mars making a square to to the north node of higher purpose. Now, the squares are red for a reason because they want you to do something. An adjustment needs to be made, just like an opposition, even though it's crimson, with my software here. But the full moon is, I hope you have watched the introduction because it's very important to understand. It helps you understand this, what I'm talking about here much better. It sure does. So we have Mars here making a square to the north node of true potential and higher purpose, asking you to do something about your emotional needs or about your home and family, possibly, or your idea, your perspective about home and family. I mean, this is also the house of where you live, the physical space that you share with other people in the home, or just your home itself, right? And so we have that there. And it is in your, in Jupiter ruled Pisces, which is beautiful. It's also asking you to trust your intuition here. Believe in your dreams. Pisces is idealistic. It wants us to believe in our dreams and don't fall for, doubts and fears because Pisces also represents that, right? Yeah, don't fall for that, right? And the interesting thing about that too is this fourth house is also about our tribe. So the people that we kind of, it can be kind of what's tribal, especially if you don't have family. It's people who are really close to us, right? Maybe there are the people kind of close to you here that the sun is in your eighth house of intimate relationships. Yeah, it can be showing you something there, but people who are maybe aren't like the best for you, that can be the case here, right? And then we have Mars, sextiling, not sextiling again, but squaring again, asking for that adjustment to the south node in your 10th house of career. It's asking you to move away from lack. Mars wants us to act. Mars is action. It's courage, drive, and desire. And it doesn't stop to think, even though it's in Gemini. So maybe it thought about it a little bit, right? But, it's squaring that south node in your house of career and authority and ambition. This authority is the authority over your own life. Yes, it can be authority figures as well, that 10th house, like bosses, even a father, but that house is really about your own achievement. I mean, the bigger part that I believe, at least here with the South Node there, is uh, you know, move away from lack or these kind of, Virgo is here. Virgo is about refinement. And Virgo is very analytical here. So, and it is also about health too. So, it's in, this is Mercury, right? And so Mercury is ruling, Virgo and Gemini. So this is like, think about kind of what needs to kind of go in your life, right? That is kind of limiting you, or maybe the way you think about your career, or the way you think about your authority over your own life. Take your authority into your hands. Yeah, just right. Be the real Sagittarius, right? And Saturn, the ruler of, the full moon, is in your house of self-expression, creative pursuits, authenticity, your talents, and how you shine. So, right? And so, step into that and be real with yourself, right? About that. All right. It's also in Aries, which is the sign of the self, right? And yeah, and so Mars, yeah, Mars is the ruler of Saturn here right now. So we kind of see the connection, right? We just talked about Mars making the square to the South Node. The South Node in your 10th house, sometimes, um, the South Node, sorry, Sagittarius, is moving away from lack or what limits you or what's not helping you grow. Because the South Node is about the past. It can be wounds and, family wounds and past lives and many, yeah, it can be. But the North Node, can be what we've inherited here. It can. And some people are not, not everybody is conscious of what they've inherited, right? So, I mean, these thought processes or, just different qualities, psychological qualities as well, right? I do past life readings if where we clear that up, right? And you're not you're not thinking in that way anymore. You're not carrying that with you. And that's why this looks like a bag. For me, I call this baggage. You see how it looks like a handbag there, like you're carrying it. So Mars is compelling you to act and move away from kind of what limits your own authority. Yeah, because Saturn is in your house of how you show yourself to the world and, your self-expression, your talents, your creative expression. So, yeah, it's asking you to definitely move away, right, from that. All right. And Mercury is ruling that where Mars is, and Mercury rules, Virgo over here. So Mercury is actually in your eighth house of transformation. So Mars in that square there and Mercury as well, they're asking you for a huge change, right? And it is there, and Mercury is in your eighth house of transformation, asking you potentially to think about money in a different way, or how you share money with other people, or building wealth. It can be. Remember, I talked about what axis, the full moon and the sun is in for you at the beginning of the video, right? And so Mercury is, basically consulting and talking with Jupiter. Mercury saying, "Hey, go and grow. Go, move into your higher purpose." All right. And that's possibly what the full moon can be showing you. All right. Yeah, so let's see what else we have for you, Sagittarius. Yeah, and Jupiter is a nurturing Cancer. So, this means nurture yourself, nurture a transformation for yourself, right? You can meditate. That's that helps, right? Or, this is a hidden house as well. So this is something that you may be seeing now, right? Meditation helps you ground yourself. So, it's easier for a transformation. I mean, it can be a little easier, right, for change, profound change, all right? And we always want to nurture ourselves. And remember that the moon is actually, the sun is in nurturing Cancer, and and the moon is like related to our emotional needs. So here we have that, right, in this axis, and the moon is in your house of well-being and self-worth, all right? So there's definitely a message there for you. And I'm going to go ahead and, move on now to Capricorn. Thank you so much, Sagittarius, for joining me. I really appreciate you. If you'd like a reading with me, check out the description box. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell, and you'll be notified of my next upload. You sure will. Yes, and thank you so much, Sagittarius. Let me move on now. I'm gonna put Capricorn on the ascendant. And here we are, Capricorn, and here you are, and this is your full moon, right? Yeah, and so, and make sure you watch the intro, Capricorn, please, for more clarity here and more resonance and understanding of what I'm discussing here today, okay? The full moon is in your first house and it is illuminating something very personal, right, in your sign. And the sun is in your seventh house. It's showing you something about your relationships, how you show up in them, your perspective on them, possibly, and how you create harmony and balance in your own life. This is the house of legal matters and opponents, or people or situations or things that don't agree with you, or you don't agree with them, right? Uh, it definitely can be. All right. So the moon is in your first house, and but you, Capricorn, you're represented, your natal planet is Saturn. So this is, about your career. It sure is. Or it's about the authority you have over your own life. It can be about the moon is in your sign. It can be about long-term goals, patience, planning, possibly financial planning. And so the moon there, the full moon there, can speak about a status change, all right, promotion or retirement, anything regarding status, divorce, marriage. But the status is pretty big, right? It can be just how you show yourself to the world, kind of. Well, I'm watching my three grandkids now, and I've now retired. So that's your status, basically. And that is also, Capricorn also rules authority figures like bosses, father figures, or your father as well. The full moon can illuminate a need to balance your personal life, Capricorn. That's really the purpose of this full moon, really, in many ways, in for the most part, really. to balance your personal and your private life with your professional or your outer or your social life, right? Or your social role kind of as well. So, yeah, once again, make sure you watch the intro. But Saturn, your natal ruler, is in Aries, and Aries is in your fourth house of emotional needs and home and family. Yeah, and the past, right? And so this is very important because we already have the moon and we have the sun in Cancer, which is about your emotional needs. So there's something here that is there's asking it's the opposition between the full moon and the sun is always asking for an adjustment. Yes, a merging of sorts. Yeah, it definitely is. Now, Saturn is there. Saturn is in your fourth house, and Saturn also rules your second house of well-being. So, you see what I mean? We're already talking about your emotional needs a couple times. There's something here about your emotion, about your well-being, your self-worth. It can be your values. The moon can be showing you something about your values. Yes, or how you value yourself or how you value others, right? Maybe relationships because, or other people over here, right? People that you, it can be any relationship. That's the seventh house of partnerships where the sun is. It can be business partnerships, one-on-ones, clients, any type of relationship, romantic or otherwise. So yeah, so there can be something that you are trying to balance there, right? And this is your well-being. This is also your house of money, though. It is. It's a money house, the second house that in Aquarius for you that Saturn is ruling. And so we have the sun squaring your Saturn, right? And so the sun is in the seventh house that I've been talking about, making that square to Saturn, right? Yeah, very interesting there because the square, once again, is asking you to do something that either has to do with relationships, maybe home and family, it's in Cancer, or your emotional needs, how you create harmony and balance in your life. Um, Yeah, and once again, your emotional needs. This is in your fourth house, right? And it is ruled by Mars. So Mars is in your sixth house of work, health, and daily and wellness, health and wellness, right? And when we say health, it could simply be wellness, like well-being, because here we have the second house of well-being that Saturn is ruling for you. So here's Mars, and Mars is the will to act, right? Mars is always the will to act. And so let's see what I have put down here. Mars is ruling your 11th house of your 11th house of future aspirations. This is a fame house, but it's a house of hopes and wishes and gains, usually from the 10th house. So, here we have Mars ruling that, right? Um, and so Mars is making the square to, and it's ruling your fourth house of emotional needs, making the square to the nodes. Let me see what I have here. Yeah, and so Mars wants you to like conquer something or take a risk, Capricorn, because the squares are, asking you to do something that it may not be entirely comfortable because it's kind of an adjustment that usually needs to be made. It's squaring your ninth house of growth and transformation, not transformation, growth and expansion. So, when we see that, and this is your ninth house of higher purpose, education, long distance travel, wisdom. Yes, long distance travel, faraway lands and cultures, but this is wisdom and growth and expansion. And what's meaningful to you? Yeah, what kind of enthusiasm? So there's something you're supposed to kind of drop over here that is, that the moon can be illuminating or to move away from because Mars is the will to act, wants something new, and it is squaring the south node of the past. The south node is what limits us. It is what, we can never learn anything new there. It is the familiar past where there are no possibilities for growth and expansion. And that's where that south node sits. And the south node is being ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is actually in Gemini. Uh, and that is not in Gemini, sorry. Mercury is in Cancer right here in your seventh house of relationships. Yeah. So Mercury's here and it is ruling both your ninth house of growth and expansion and the sixth house of work, health, and wellness, and your lifestyle. There's something about your daily routines or likely, or your stability or your well-being that is kind of being uh, highlighted here, right? Now, Mercury is here in that seventh house, and it is talking to Jupiter. They're in a conjunction. It's a pretty tight conjunction. It's just, 3 degrees here. So we have Mercury is ruling our intelligence, our curiosity, and our ideas, right? Our goals and plans. Mercury is here, kind of telling Jupiter, hey, you can grow, or you can reach, you can live with more purpose. It can be saying that, right? Or you can expand. And so that is in that seventh house that we talked about. And Jupiter is getting a sextile from it's getting this sextile from, excuse me, from Mars, right? And so there's an opportunity here for you to do something new with Mars and for you to expand it or to grow or it can even be to gain more wisdom here. It definitely can be, all right? And so now we have and Jupiter is ruling your third house of ideas, you see, right here. And that is where Mars is making the square to the North Node. Now, this is also your house of willpower. So, right? So you can do it, Capricorn, right? But this adjustment from Mars over to the North Node of higher potential, right? And true, your higher purpose as well. And this is the unknown because that's where the possibilities live for us. We don't, if we know, if we're constantly doing the same thing all the time, there's no possibilities in it, right? Because it's the familiar known. So this is asking you kind of to, think about something. It can be for the long term because definitely here, or what is, about your higher purpose and your true potential. All right. So, yeah, there you go. And it's in Pisces. So you're supposed to trust your intuition on this. Don't fall, it's a square, so don't fall into doubts and fears because Pisces can sometimes, sometimes, be that way, right? The higher expression is always believe in your hopes and your dreams, trust your intuition, and be compassionate because compassion is, Saturn is ruling your second house of well-being. So compassion is important. It really is. Yeah. This can be compassionate to yourself. It can, because this is Mars, and Mars rules the sign of the self, right? It rules Scorpio too, but it rules the sign of Aries, and this is the self. All right. And your ruling planet is in Aries. So there we go on that, right? I mean, your philosophy could be maybe be changing as well here, all right? But you are being asked to be nurturing. You are with Jupiter in Cancer in your seventh house, where the sun is, where this axis, the full moon axis, is showing up. Yeah, but the full moon Capricorn is showing you or is illuminating something for you where balance is needed somewhere in your life. It's showing it to all of us where balance is needed, right? Um, but yeah, so thank you so much for joining me here. Capricorn, if you've enjoyed my video, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell. You'll be notified of my next upload. If you want a reading with me, a past life regression, they're healing. They are. It's quantum healing. And if you would like a reading with me, my website is below, listed in the description box. I have all kinds of great readings, and I've updated my website so you can get a clearer idea of what these readings are about and what they can really do for you. Thank you so much, Capricorn. And I'll see you in the next one. And so let's move on to Aquarius, harmony and understanding. All right. Yeah. Just like the song, right? From the fifth dimension, right? Right there, it's spiritual, right? You guys remember that song? It's very old from the 70s, I believe. It could even be the late 60s. I'm dating myself here, but it's okay because with time comes wisdom, right? Yeah, even if it's hard won, or right? All right, so here we have for you, Aquarius, we have the full moon is in your 12th house of endings and release. So the full moon can definitely, it brings culminations where things are ending for us, and things are, and that's what the full moon, when we're moving toward the full moon, We're supposed to be steady and building up to something. So, but the full moon can bring an ending for you. Excuse me, especially as it sits in your 12th house. OMG. And so watch the intro, Aquarius, because it's really important and you need that. It's almost like the first part of the reading for you, first part of your horoscope, definitely. All right. And I have timestamps, so that's right at the beginning. But yeah, so this is for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant, or Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And so, yeah, we have that in your 12th house. Now, this is it's a hidden house. So, you could learn something, or it could be a powerful realization for you. That's what the full moons mean as well. It could be a powerful realization for you where, like, wow, maybe something has to end, or, but some type of a powerful realization for you, right? And so, and it can be regarding your career or status because it's in that sign of, of Capricorn. And that also Capricorn, this is personal authority over your own life, like your authority and ambition, your achievement, long-term goals. That's what Capricorn rules, and patience as well. Your reputation. This is why I want you to watch the intro, right? But the full moon there. And this is also how you show yourself to the world, like the authority, the agency over your own life. All right. Now, the full moon is opposing the sun, like it does with every full moon, right? And they're both trying to create a balance here between these two signs and between these two houses, basically to make your life better, right? But the full moon can sometimes come in and go, boom, here it is, right? The sun is in your sixth house. And this is the axis, right? So when we have an opposition, we have a complete axis here, right, of opposing houses, right, and signs. So this is surrender and release. That is one of the axes that's called service and surrender. Your sixth house is about service, and this is about surrender, all right? Then we can call this the health and spirituality axis. This is health in the sixth house. This is also health. This is emotional health in the 12th house, mental health, emotional, right? This is why it's the house of intuition as well. That's exactly right. They are highly connected, right? Now, and we could talk about that for a long time. We could, but and this is also the physical and the mental health axis, and the work and the retreat axis. Maybe you're working too hard, possibly. That could be the case. This is the house of work, health and wellness, work and service, and also what you do every day, like your daily habits, your daily routines, your obligations, and obstacles. These are also the both house of obstacles. Yes, they are. So, and then this is, yeah, we talked about, and this is the house of retreat. This is the house of your intuition, your meditation, spiritual practices, and retreat, alone time for healing, right? We all need alone time, right? If you don't get any alone time, it's taxing. You might not realize it, but it definitely is, all right? Um, yeah, and so we have Saturn is the ruler of the moon in Capricorn, and your first house of self. So let's look at Saturn. Excuse me, um, Saturn is in Aries, right? Sorry, Saturn is in your house of your third house of thinking. This is ideas, plans, and goals. It's the communication, the things you talk about, the things you learn about. But this is also that is skills and willpower as well. Yeah, plans and goals, if I didn't say that. This is also the house of siblings, external family, because it is what's familiar to us. I think that's why they put the siblings in there, right? And the extended family, short distance travel, and the local community or the local neighborhood or the same way you go every day to work, anything that is familiar to you is the third house. All right. It's also the house of early childhood. Maybe you are realizing something about your early childhood. That could be the case, right? I don't see your chart in front of me, so I wouldn't know, right? But there's something personal, Aquarius, going on because Saturn is in the sign of Aries. Excuse me, Saturn, yeah, is in the sign of Aries, the sign of the self. And Saturn is ruling your first house in Aquarius, and it rules your 12th house where the moon is. It's ruling the moon in, right? So it's ruling two houses for you. And Saturn is your traditional ruler, and Uranus is your modern ruler. All right, but we're using Saturn more because there's so much more meaning to the traditional. It's surfacey, right? More surface kind of when we're using the modern rulers. Yeah, we talk about them a little bit, but they don't get deep here. In astrology, if there's, if anything is deep, it's astrology, all right? Talking about past lives and your psyche, right? Exactly right. All right. So Saturn is ruling your third house. I mean, not ruling your third house, it's in that third house. Um, yeah, and Mars. Let's look at Mars. Yeah. So Mars is the ruler of Saturn here, right? Because Saturn sits in Aries. Mars is ruling your 10th house of career, the authority you hone, or you not hone, but maybe, but you wield over your own life, your status, your social roles, and that is here, right? And so it's ruling this house. So there's some type of connection here with either the authority over your own life, your career. It can be long distance, not long distance, but long-term planning, because Capricorn is associated with that. Saturn's associated with long-term goals. It sure is. All right. Anything for kind of the long term, right? And Mars is in Gemini. Let's talk about Mars because Saturn is being ruled by Mars, and Mars is in Gemini, Aquarius, in your fifth house of self-expression. This is the house of where you shine and how you show yourself authentically. Like if you're doing what you're good at, or if you're doing what you want to do, right? Because it's the sun. The sun rules the fifth house in the natural chart. So, but that is where you shine and how authentic you are, um, your creative expression. So, we also have that up here with where Mars is ruling because this is your authority over your own life and how you kind of show yourself to the world. Down here, it is in that fifth house. That fifth house is talents. It's also love and sex and children and how you enjoy yourself. All right. So Mars is right here it's in Gemini, being ruled by Mercury. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Mars is here making the square to the nodes. Yeah, it is. It's also making a trine to Pluto, and that is in your first house. So Pluto, interesting for Pluto, for the person, this can be um, Pluto is, about power, and in Aquarius, it is very collective, but because it's going to be there until 2043. So, yeah, I don't think you're going to be going through a transformation until then. And Pluto represents transformation and power, intensity and depth. But you may be kind of becoming, maybe you are becoming kind of, uh, it can be about that, right? But when we have Mars, Mars wants something new. It's in your fifth house of your self-expression. And it is, conjoined with Uranus, which is change, which is step into your independence, right? And here we have Mars and making that trine to Pluto. So that's very good for you in your first house of self. So there's something here, and this trine is making it easier or more favorable for you to kind of transform something and move into something new. It can be your own self-expression or the talents that you want to show to the world or that you want to start practicing or doing. It's in Gemini, it's an intellectual Gemini. So it can be about plans and goals, right? Gemini is associated with that. Yeah, and so, and then we have the sun. The sun is also here um, asking you, the sun is here in your sixth house. And this can be showing you something about your physical health. Though we talked about that earlier about the axis, right? Yeah, and the sun is squaring Saturn, right? So, um, yeah, there could be something about your career or kind of that you're doing possibly because Mars is ruling your 10th and here is Saturn in Mars ruled Aries, right? Or yeah, or Aries ruled by Mars basically, but here we have that sun making the square. There's something about your authority over your own life or what you do every day or possibly your work, your career. But there's something like a kind of the well-being sort of is being kind of, there's some well-being that you might be seeking here. And it can be just stepping into your true self, right? The fifth house, where Mars sits, is in that house of kind of just being authentic and really stepping into who you are, right? So we have, yeah, and yeah, Mars is ruling that third, right? And so let's see what else I have for you, Aquarius. But the sun is making the square to Saturn. And so, yeah, this is an adjustment here. It just kind of has to do with what I was talking about, I believe, the authority you rule over your own life or your talents or how you're showing yourself to the world. Um, yeah, there could be a status change here for you as well because the 10th house, sorry, the full moon is in your 12th house, right? And Mercury, let's talk about Mercury because uh, Mercury is ruling your fifth house where Mars sits. And Mercury is actually, not Mercury, but yeah, Mercury is ruling this fifth house of self-expression. Mercury wants you to think about what wants you to think about what you're doing, right? It rules thinking. Um, and so here we have Mercury is actually in Cancer. That's in your sixth house, see, of your daily routines, your work, your habits, obligations, and obstacles. And Mercury's having a conversation here with, and that's a very Mercury word, conversation, right? Mercury's having a conversation with Jupiter in your sixth house of what I was just talking about, these sixth house themes here. And Mercury is, it's in nurturing Cancer. So nurture your ideas for regarding your work, whatever works for you on a daily basis. Nurture those ideas. Think about how you can grow and expand, possibly with your work, because remember, Mars is ruling your 10th house of career. So yeah, so there we go, right? And do that, right? Jupiter's going to move into your seventh house the day after. So and Mercury is ruling, we're talking about that conversation. Mercury is ruling your fifth house and also your eighth house of transformation. So there's new ideas here, most likely for work or maybe career, right? Um, and also we have Jupiter is actually ruling your 11th house of the future. So there's something very future oriented that you're thinking about. Jupiter is ruling your second house of well-being, you see, and this is also the house of self-worth. Um, yeah, and self-worth and also, the money you earn or your possessions and things like that, financial well-being, material comfort. And Jupiter is Mars over here. Jupiter's ruling that in Pisces. So Mars is here. Mars is very important in this lunation because Saturn is the ruler and is sitting in Mars ruled Aries, right? So we have Mars here making the square to the north node of true potential, higher potential. The square is asking you to kind of raise the bar for yourself, right? It's asking you to really believe in yourself. It is, and do something new, right? We have the Mars sextile with Jupiter. Jupiter wants you to believe as well, and and grow and expand, right? And reach for your higher purpose. And here we have Mars making that square to the north node here, which is associated with your true potential as well. All right. And there's something about your well-being, or maybe it could be your relationship with money. It's in that second house. Your values could be. And make an adjustment here to the south node in your eighth house of transformation, also ruled by Mercury there. So there's a message here telling you something here, Aquarius. That the full moon will likely illuminate for you. All right. Yeah. And so thank you so much, Aquarius, for joining me here. If you've liked my content, please like, share, and subscribe and hit that little bell, and you will be notified of my next upload. Make a comment. I really appreciate that, right? If you want a reading with me, I do past life readings. They're healing. Yeah, they are really healing. They're very empowering. All my readings are, and I have relabeled or kind of not relabeled, sort of, but kind of, put a little bit more description about what those readings are and what they can really do for you, right? They can really help you. The astrology is to help you understand your psyche at a deep level. If we don't really understand that and we don't understand ourselves, then we're kind of fumbling through life. That's really how that works. Yeah. So thank you so much. And we're going to move on right now to Pisces. Yes. Okay, for Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant or Rising. And yeah, and so Pisces, before you watch this, please watch the intro because it will make this far richer and easier to understand and etc. etc. All right. So the full moon, Pisces, is in the fifth house and the 11th house axis. So we have this axis going on with every full moon, and this axis is it's the represents the personal creation in the fifth house where the sun is, and the 11th house, excuse me, is the collective vision. And one of the meanings of that is how can I shine and express my unique individuality and share my gifts with a larger group? That's what Aquarius, this is in the original or the zodiac, 11th house is belongs to Aquarius. All right. Yours just happens to be in Capricorn, and that's okay. All right. So, yeah. So this also, this fifth house, yeah, is the house of talents. It's the house of self-expression and creative expression. It's also, fun and children, enjoying yourself. It's also love and sex. All right. That is the fifth house. Okay. So, the 11th house rules future aspirations, friends, and social groups. All right. So we can see kind of, what this axis is talking about, right? And the axis can ask you, Pisces, how can you express your unique talents without needing the approval of others? These are just kind of some questions that, that can kind of come from that axis, right? It can also be about balancing friendships with romance and how you can enjoy your life while making, like a meaningful contribution towards your own future. It can talk about that. And the full moon will illuminate some type of adjustment that needs to be made here to balance these, right? That's what the full moon is about. It's about balancing what's going on with the full moon and what's going on with the sun, pretty much, right? And, it gets a lot deeper because we're talking about different signs and different planets. The full moon ruler is Saturn, and Saturn is also ruling your 12th house of endings and release. Wow, your 11th and your 12th. So, with this full moon, something's ending for you. Yeah, something will definitely end for you. And the 12th house is the beauty of this, though, is that Saturn rules this house of release and endings. It's also doubts and fears and self-undoing. But the beauty about this house is trusting your intuition and spiritual growth, creativity, and compassion. That is the beauty there. Yeah. And the moon is asking you to move away from something that may be limiting your future because it's ruling the 12th as well, limiting you in some way. It can be about the past. The moon is also associated with the past, and so is the 12th house here. Yeah. And so it's asking you to move away from something that may be limiting your self-expression, your talents, and the sun is in nurturing Cancer, supporting you, Pisces, and asking you to nurture yourself and your gifts. Yeah, that's what it's doing there. The sun is bringing life to your fifth house, uh, and also Saturn, the ruler of the full moon, is in your second house of self-worth. So it's really supporting you, right? Saturn is in detriment there, but that's okay. That could be a message all by itself. Yeah, it can definitely be. Um, yeah, and Saturn wants you to be patient here. It definitely does. And it wants you to be serious about things, right? Serious about, and you may be kind of thinking that, but it definitely wants you to be serious about your goals and your future up here, your future aspirations. It sure does. It's ruling that house. Um, yes. And so. Yes, and Saturn is in your second house of self-worth and well-being. And so this is also your house of values, how you value yourself, your possessions, and your financial stability. And so the sun in Cancer uh is also squaring Saturn, all right? And where is the sun? It's right here making the square. The square is always an adjustment that is kind of the cosmos are asking you to make for your better, for your well-being, basically. But the sun in Cancer squaring that is also asking you to protect and nurture your gifts. This is a protective energy. It's asking you to do that, right? And Mercury is here asking you to think about your goals as they relate to your talents or your self-expression. Yes, think about that. Jupiter is supporting that there. And we'll talk about Jupiter in just a moment here. Um, and we also have a square to Neptune, right? Neptune is your modern day ruler, right? Your traditional ruler is Jupiter. And so here we have Neptune making the square, the sun making that square to Neptune in the second house of well-being. And this the square is prompting you to take action in some way, make an adjustment, inner, right, of course it's usually inner. But that sextile or that square there is to Neptune. Uh, Neptune in Aries can sometimes be uh, Aries is telling Neptune basically because Aries is the will to act as courage. Neptune doesn't really like to be in Aries very much. So, it's asking, but Aries is kind of imposing on Neptune, hey, believe in your dreams, believe in yourself, trust your intuition, trust your inner knowing. And Pisces, you're all about that. You rule the 12th house of intuition. You sure do. Compassion, creativity is there. That's right. And and yeah, and you're being ruled by Jupiter. That is your your traditional ruler. But that square here is saying don't fall into fears. Don't do that. Believe in yourself. That's what Neptune wants you to have hope. It can be very idealistic. It can also be saying, don't be naive here. Trust in yourself and move into your own talents or your true authenticity so you can, bring about these future aspirations for yourself. This is the house of gains and hopes and wishes where the moon sits, right? All right. So, yeah, and now we have Mars, right? Um, Yeah, and Mars is in the fifth house, is in your fifth house. Uh, no, Mars is in your fourth house of, excuse me, Mars is right here in your fourth house, and this is your house of emotional needs. Now, emotional needs are important to all of us, but they are, to a water sign, maybe they're a little bit more, right? It depends on the rest of your chart as well. But we have Cancer. The sun is in Cancer. That is about your emotional needs. So, and now we have Mars in the fourth house, which is emotional needs. So, there's something here that you need to do to kind of, or they're asking you to make that adjustment to bring about more well-being for yourself. Saturn sits in your house of well-being, and also more kind of emotional security here, or not emotional security, but to satisfy your emotional needs, right? And if people are creative or if we are not, it just doesn't even have to necessarily be creative, but if we are not being true to ourselves and our own self-expression, our self-identity, and showing the world who we are because we're afraid or whatever, and that's what that square from the sun to yeah, don't fall into the fear about this, all right? But when we are not paying attention to our own self-expression, we're being somebody else, or we're afraid to really step into our powerful selves, our true selves, then we are not meeting our emotional needs. No, we're fighting them. So, that's what we have going on with these squares here. This is in your house of emotional needs in intelligent Gemini. So, here, most likely, or the full moon can be definitely showing you, illuminating that. And Mars wants to act, that you need to do something here. Mars wants something new. Mars is like, hey, I need this. I'm doing this, or I want this, right? It's uh, it's the will to act. And so we have Mars there, and Mars is sitting in Gemini. It's in this house of the past. The fourth house is the house of the past as well. Yes, it is, and our lineage, and um, yeah, definitely. So you're asking, and it is squaring this south node that is associated with the past and lack and what is limiting us. It can also be, it can be family wounds as well. But it doesn't necessarily have to be. But the thing about the South Node is that we're always trying to move away from it because it is the familiar known. It is, we're not learning anything new there. In fact, we could be dwelling in the past. And there is no possibilities for anything because it is the familiar known. We can't stay in the familiar known because there'll never be anything new for us, right? So it's squaring your seventh house of relationships, but this is also your house of, clients and one-on-ones, any type of relationship, business, romantic, whatever. But this is, your house of harmony and balance. And Pisces needs harmony and balance. Pisces rules the 12th house of meditation and retreat. Yeah, this is when we, right, when we retreat and we are in our alone time, we create more harmony and balance for ourselves. We sure do, right? And so we have that square there from Mars to the South Node, asking you to move away from whatever is limiting either how you see relationships or, or how you kind of show up in them. That could be the case or stuff that is not from the past that's not bringing you any harmony or peace. All right, just let it go, right? It's also squaring, and that is ruled by Mercury, right? And it's coming from Mercury ruled Gemini. So this is something definitely to think about, right? That's the key, probably the key word for Gemini is thinking. I mean, it's communication, ideas, right? And so here we have Mars making that square to the North Node in your first house. So the North Node has been in your first house almost about 17 months. It's moving at the end of July, and because it has an 18-month transit. But take advantage of that, Pisces, because the North Node is about our higher potential, our true potential. It is. And Mars is, um, you know, Mars is ruling the full moon here. So there's a connection, but Mars is squaring this North Node in your house, your first house of self, and asking you to kind of raise the bar for yourself as well. It's asking you to make an adjustment, Pisces, to step into your true potential. And it has to do a lot with the sun in your house of self-expression. All right. And this is Jupiter is ruling your first house and also ruling Sagittarius. So Jupiter is here. Um, Jupiter is here in your fifth house of self-expression and talents. You see, this is the authority in a way that you hold over your own life, because if we're not being true to our self-expression and who we are, then we don't have authority over our own life. No. And Jupiter is ruling your 10th house, which is associated with the authority, your career, the authority you wield over your own life, and how you show yourself to the world and how other people see you. With the moon's full moon, people may be seeing you differently, right? Pisces, they could. And Jupiter here, yeah, is ruling that 10th house in Sagittarius. And, Mercury is having a conversation. Mercury is the ruler of Mars because where is Mars is in Gemini. Mercury is having a conversation with your natal Jupiter, and it is saying, "Hey, expand on that, grow on that, move into your higher purpose, move toward what is meaningful to you, especially in your house of talents and self-expression." It's very beautiful, Pisces, I have to say. Um, yeah. Yeah, and then, I was talking about that square here, and sometimes the nodes can talk about groups of people. So Mars is making a square to this South Node, which talks about, the South Node can talk about groups of people. Um, and so, it's like it's in that house of relationships or how you see relationships. So it's like you're moving away, you're being kind of compelled to act and move away from people that don't appreciate you, or maybe people who are critical. It could be, it's in Virgo, right? No digs on Virgo because Virgo is great, but in the lower with the South Node there, right, and a square, it can be that people are maybe people have criticized you in the past or something like that. And, people in relationships or just people like opponents, move away from that and let that go. This can be arguments. The seventh house is or opponents where we can have forgiveness, but we can have arguments. So just move away from these people who have like, that you've had like maybe prior arguments with. So what? That's the past. And even, why we all make mistakes too. Not saying it was your fault. I wasn't there, right? It doesn't really matter anyway, because this is about growth. Jupiter in your fifth house of self-expression. All right. So thank you so much, Pisces, for joining me here. If you've enjoyed my content, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the little bell. And I will be back with another video. If you want a reading with me, they're very deep. I do past life readings. That's a Pisces thing. Those are for healing. And I have all kinds of great readings on my website. I've relabeled them. So if you know, and and I've added to that. So you'll be able to see some very cool things there. All right. Regarding my readings. Yeah. Thanks so much, Pisces. And I'll see you in the next one.